Good evening. I'd like to welcome the commissioners, staff, petitioners, citizens to the March meeting of the Mishawaka Plan Commission. I'd like to introduce our staff. To the right of me is Donna Burkhart, Administrative Planner. And next to her is Shad Annis, Associate Planner. And on my left, we have Kristen Hill, Senior Planner. We have Derek Spear, City Planner. Ken Prince, our Executive Director, is sitting in the front row. And next to him is Dave Bent, which is our legal counsel for the Plan Commission. Donna, would you please call the roll?
Chris Jamrose. Drew Cash.
Here.
Woody Emmons.
Here.
Sam Cressy.
Here.
Drew Johnson.
Here.
Randy Frost.
Here.
Kathleen White Gaddage. Here. Mike Portalese.
Here.
Chris Doherty.
Thank you. Rules of procedure for tonight's meeting. We'll have the presentation by the petitioner, and then for each item, we'll ask those participating in the room to speak first. And then if there's anybody online, they will speak second, both whether it's for or against. Those wishing to speak in favor of the request will speak first. Those wishing to speak against the request will speak second. Afterwards, we'll have a rebuttal by the petitioner, and then the commissioners will discuss, and then we'll have a vote. So what we'd like, when you come up, if you're going to speak, come to the podium and speak directly into the microphone. Give your name and address, whether the address is home or business. Once everybody has either state their for or against, we'll close the public hearing, and we'll have questions and discussions by the commissioner and staff only. Are there any, on the minutes, are there any corrections or additions? If not, they'll be approved as presented. Is there any conflict of interest on any of the items to be addressed tonight? Seeing none. This brings us to the first item on the agenda, which is public hearing petition number 24-1, a petition submitted by Charles Rupley requesting to annex and establish zoning as S2 Planned Unit Development District for property located at 16963 Douglas Road, and a request submitted by John A. and Jane Pericini and Julie Hagenhan and Jeff Steele to amend part of the Douglas Common Plan Unit Development. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak in favor of this petition? If you would please come forward.
John Pericini, 633 Windy Cove Court, Mishawaka. I think the attorney for U-Haul is online. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to, how do you want to proceed? Ken, do you know if...
Just a minute, Mr. Pericini.
Hi.
I don't think the mics are on. We're not hearing anything when John is talking.
Mine? You don't hear me? Okay. That's rare.
John, can you speak into it?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay. I was asking, I think the attorney for U-Haul was going to give the presentation. I'm prepared to speak, but I didn't know if you wanted to do that first or not.
Is he going to be online?
She should be online now. But I can.
Hi. Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Can I have your name and address, please?
Yes, please. Absolutely. My name is Gurnur Khorshudi. I am the zoning and land use planner for the applicant. My address is 2727 North Central Avenue in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you. I see the presentation. So, am I good to go? I do have a presentation where I can give a description of what the project is and what is being requested.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. So I am a zoning and land use planner for America Real Estate Company. America Real Estate Company is the wholly owned real estate subsidiary of U-Haul. So U-Haul is proposing a U-Haul moving and storage facility at the location 16963, which is to be annexed and added to the property, which is the additional 10.1 acres of property, which is under the jurisdiction of the city. I have provided a presentation just to give a brief introduction of what the project is and what the U-Haul company is. So, sorry, did anyone have to comment? Or can I go ahead? Okay, excellent. So U-Haul is a 75-year-old company. It was started in 1945 by a veteran of World War II. U-Haul maintains the same premise since inception, that the division of use and specialization of ownership are good for the public. Sharing our equipment with as many customers as possible allows U-Haul to keep the customers' costs low while reducing the need for more privately owned large capacity vehicles in the community. Next slide, please. Just to give you a few numbers of U-Haul, U-Haul owns 1,800 and counting company-owned and operated stores. We have around 20,000 plus independent dealers, 28,000 team members, approximately 70.5 million rentable square footage of storage. It's the largest retail network of propane in the country. Next slide, please. So just to give a brief introduction of this project and what U-Haul is proposing, the rectangle that you see that's highlighted in orange is the property that U-Haul is requesting be annexed into the city and be added to the rest of the site, which is in red outline, and it is within the city's jurisdiction. Once it's annexed, U-Haul is requesting that it be zoned same as the existing property, which is S2, which is a planned unit development, and to further amend the planned unit development to allow the U-Haul uses of self-storage, U-Haul truck and trailer sharing, and related retail sales. Next slide, please. So this is an enlarged portion of the site plan that has been submitted to the staff. So to the west is the 3-story proposed climatized self-storage building, which is going to have self-storage units that U-Haul customers can rent out. On the first floor is a retail showroom of U-Haul where customers, U-Haul customers can rent out moving related supplies. To the east is another self-storage building which offers a different self-storage product that U-Haul offers, but this is a building that is only going to be accessible to the U-Haul employees. Also proposed are 3 drive-up style mini storages that can be seen towards the north of the property. The rest of the site is going to remain undeveloped until future, and any development that U-Haul will propose, of course, it will be done, in coordination with the city zoning staff, the zoning code, as well as the community surrounding it. Next slide, please. So U-Haul develops its sites in 3 distinct ways. It either does what is being proposed here, which is a ground up because it's a barrel-land property, or it does a historic revitalization, which it has done all across the United States, or it does an adaptive reuse when it buys big boxes like Kmart's that are going out of business across the United States. Next slide, please. So to give you an example of this, what this project might also look like, In the meantime, we do understand and we have indicated with the city staff that, renderings and elevations specific to this project need to be submitted for the site plan process, which will be done. But to give a better idea of what those might also look like, will be very similar to what you're seeing right now. These are current or being developed similar U-Haul moving facilities all across the United States. We work with every city, county we go into with the planning staff and the community to comply with the zoning code, as well as, develop a project that everyone's glad to have within their community. So this one's in Houston, Texas. Next slide, please. This one is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Next slide. This one is in Champaign, Illinois. As you can see, that the U-Haul signage is quite similar. It is going to be code compliant, but the architectural features do vary based on the city and the code. Next slide, please. This one is in Phoenix, Arizona. This is going to be actually right next to the U-Haul corporate office. It's going to be one of the bigger ones. Next slide, please. This one is in Santa Fe Springs, California. Next slide, please. Tallahassee, Florida. Next slide, please. So just to alleviate any apprehensions that the community might have or the commission members might have, U-Haul has a lot of security features to ensure that these facilities can't be accessed by any random person. The buildings can only be accessed by U-Haul employees or U-Haul customers that have been provided very specific keypad or card swipes. U-Haul also has state-of-the-art burglar alarm system, 24-hour monitoring of every floor, every storage building and around the site. So basically we're ensuring that, the community surrounding it is safe. We're not going to have any negative elements and there's not going to be any sort of loitering allowed. Next slide, please. U-Haul also has a lot of sustainability programs at each of its facilities. One of them is the box exchange program, where if a customer has additional boxes that they are not going to use, they can leave them at an assigned place within the building that a next customer in need could, reutilize. U-Haul also offers U-Car Share, 100% biodegradable packing peanuts, which replace styrofoam and reduces landfill waste. Most of the moving blankets are from manufactured denim or cotton polyester. And the U-Haul use of, truck and trailer sharing basically helps reduce, customer fuel consumption, reduces CO2 greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide, please. So one of the uses that U-Haul also has that accompanies the self-storage is U-Haul truck and trailer sharing. So basically what it does is it allows its customers to rent out U-Haul equipment whenever they have a moving need, and they can return this equipment to whichever nearest U-Haul location they might have. So they don't have to come back to the location that they rented it from. And what it also really does is that, it helps U-Haul allow a mover to save time, save money, save fuel, as well as reduce traffic and congestion on the city streets. Next slide, please. So to ensure that there is no random haphazard parking of U-Haul trucks and trailers, U-Haul has a very specific set system for each of its facilities, which it calls shunting. So what basically is that all these U-Haul vehicles will be parked neatly and in an orderly fashion, with trucks parked rear bumper to front bumper, ensuring the area is used in the most efficient possible way. Only U-Haul employees have access to these shunting lanes and are the only ones who will be maneuvering vehicles in and out of this area. U-Haul is monitored by a real-time inventory control system that allows us to limit incoming U-Haul vehicles. If there is a situation where they foresee an overflow of vehicles on a specific lot, incoming customers are routed to nearby location to avoid unsightly and unorganized overflow. Next slide, please. So compared to most commercial strip businesses like fast food restaurants, gas stations, convenience stores, cash and signings, U-Haul produces significantly less traffic. As you can see, 31 trips on a weekday compared to thousands of trips by usual commercial businesses, and like 53 on a weekend. And U-Haul does have very specific hours, so that also ensures less traffic. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I will be available to answer any questions, inquiries that the commission members might have, and I will do my very best to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? John, are you going to make your presentation now, or do you want?
You want to ask any questions first of
Okay,
her?
okay. Is there any question by the commissioners on petition 2401? Any questions? Okay.
Okay, again, John Pericini, 633 Windy Cove Court, Mishawaka. I'm the property owner and a partner of mine. He's passed away. His children are my partners now on the larger piece. Just wanted to give you a quick history of this. We bought this many years ago. We've had this for sale for quite some time. And it's taken a while for the growth in this area. We purchased from the Rupleys. Mr. and Mrs. Rupley and us, we donated the right-of-way to get the road widened up to the city line at the time. It took a little while for South Bend to catch up, to get the lanes pushed through, and then finally the county got it pushed through. So it's kind of opened this corridor up. It was just probably finally started to attract some of this growth here. The area, you've seen it kind of grow slow. I don't think it's really built for, as you know, I do a lot of commercial real estate. It's not really a retail area. Office market is slow and kind of a glut right now. It's not a single family. It almost seemed like this is almost a natural, it fits perfect. The service that we don't, U-Haul's finally come into the area with a big presence. You know, they have facilities scattered, but they got a little one over on the west side of South Bend. But this is I've seen there's in other cities, but it's going to provide a nice service with hitches, vehicles, rental, et cetera, and you see what the building looks like from the street. So it's going to be, it's going to change the whole landscape out there on Douglas Road. You know what, in the back there, when we sold behind the warehouses, that phase was built in '06, and it has not changed, the condos back there. It's been for sale a long time. It just seems like it's difficult to get that kind of residential growth with the density it needs. So that's why I'm thinking that, you know, we've got a lot of medical that grew across the street recently. The school, remember when Brown Mackey came in, that's when I was involved in that project, got the utilities over there, but then that went out. So I think this is just a really nice use to get, you know, kind of a shot in the arm in the area. Property taxes, we're paying about $2,000 a year on property taxes for that land. So as you know, what 150,000 square feet of building space is going to do for the area, for the TIF fund, for the tax base, it's going to be, you know, pretty substantial. I wanted to commend U-Haul. I've dealt with a lot of large companies, but I tell you, they have been responsive. They've listened, you know, to all you give advice about what the city will expect and what we expect in Mishawaka. Never hesitated. They've just been great to work with, and I commend them for it. And I want to thank the staff for the favorable recommendation also. If you have any questions, be glad to answer that. Leon here, he's from U-Haul. He's been with them for about 100 years, and he can answer any. He's kind of a local rep, so if you have any questions locally about the operation, he'd be glad to answer that also.
John, is there anything on the property now, or is it just pretty?
It's all vacant land.
All vacant.
Yeah. We just cleared the front, about the front third's cleared. Most of it's still wooded. Mr. Rupley, I think he's here, he still lives in, I think in the house there, but other than that, it's all vacant land.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
I wanted to, before you go, I'm just going to pass, this is the traffic count, I meant to give that, just pass, I got a copy. It's just, you know, there's always some kind of concern about traffic, but there's 23,000 cars there now on Douglas Road. It actually is neck and neck with Grape Road in the volume right at that end. I just pulled that up today, 23 in Douglas, as you can see, and it's probably going to get bigger once people get that pattern changed to the new 4 lanes through to the university and to the toll road up there. So you're probably going to see that grow quite a bit. So it's a pretty busy area.
John, on the building, I didn't catch it. How tall is that building that they're going to propose to build?
Is that what it was, Leon? Yeah, 48,
Feet high?
yeah.
And how many floors for storage? Is there just 2 on that?
I think it's 3. Leon, is that 3? I think the first floor was retail and three floors, I think.
Okay,
Yeah, it's 3 stories.
Right.
okay. And any outside storage? How much outside storage? When I say storage, of parking of trucks or vehicles. Let's put it vehicles, whether it be pickup trucks, whether it be vans, whatever.
It will be a mixture of U-Haul inventory, some U-Haul trucks, some U-Haul pickup trucks, basically depending on the customer. But U-Haul basically doesn't store them. As you can see on the site, there are, right in front of the 3-story, there are 4 lanes where it's written U-Haul equipment shunting. So that is where these equipment will be shunted, and it'll only be the U-Haul employee accessing those lanes. And it just keeps moving throughout the day as they are rented out or a customer, returns. So it's never the same customer that is renting and returning, so they might be getting returned at another U-Haul location. So it's not going to be an overflow, and it is going to be ensured that if anything goes past these 4 lanes, the customers are rerouted to the nearest either U-Haul dealer or a U-Haul location. So there's not going to be like storage per se. It's just like a rotating inventory of these U-Haul vehicles.
I think you were questioning outside storage besides U-Haul equipment. Is that where you were?
Right, yeah.
No. Right.
Okay, and basically, when you start your operation, how many vehicles are going to be on that property for rent? When you start the operation? Is it new equipment, or is it waiting for
She would have to answer that. I don't know. I can't answer the operation of U-Haul. She would have to answer that. How much equipment?
I would say they would start with 15 to 20 vehicles, but these are already U-Haul vehicles. These are not brand new vehicles that are being brought in. It's just either a surplus from other locations that is going to be adjusted here. And U-Haul owns their vehicles for years, so it's not anyone else's, but these are U-Haul vehicles.
John, can you speak to water retention on site? There's a pretty large paved area there.
I am not sure what the final site plan shows, but they're going to have to retain their own water.
Correct.
So it's just, either it'd be a pond or underground. It's going to be up to whatever, I guess, is economically feasible for them, but they're going to have to do it in the final site plan. It'll have to be that way. There's no water. No water will come off site.
And that's the question.
City won't allow it anyway, so
Thank you, John.
you're welcome.
John, what's the use of the building on the east side of the property? There are 2
They,
buildings.
if you look in the plans, they had not designated a use yet. I noticed that besides, so I'm not really sure what they're going to plan on
I can
doing.
answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
So the one on the east is a 1-story building. It has like an open floor layout. Basically, what this building is going to have is provide U-Haul customers the self-storage product of U-Box. Basically, these are U-Haul's version of pods where customers can rent out one of these boxes and they can be delivered by the U-Haul employee to their address, where they can take their time to fill out, their personal belongings. And once they're done, these can be picked up by U-Haul employees and brought in and stored in these buildings. And it's a building that is only going to be accessible to the U-Haul employee, and it will not be open to the public.
That answer your question?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for the petitioner or Mr. Perricini? Thank you. Is there anyone else present that wishes to speak in favor of petition number 24-01? Is there anybody online that wishes to speak favorably for petition number 24-1? Is there anyone present that wishes to speak against petition number 2401? If you would please come forward, give your name and address.
I'm Von Hart, 17135 Cherokee Drive. I'm one of the single-family homes that they forgot to tell you that's going to be affected by this. My home butts right up against the build site. It'll be the third property in the center there. And we're going to have noise pollution, light pollution. We're going to have runoff. We're going to have people at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night making all sorts of noises. It's just not going to be beneficial for the county, for us in the county part, to have this in our backyard. So that's all I got to say right now about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak against petition number 2401?
Paul Ruschelang, 5525 Irish Way, Unit 16. First, I'd like to start by saying I have some real estate in Indianapolis also, and we were just at a U-Haul, and the transient activities that occur at the U-Hauls are not good for any residential area. Our development, our attorney will speak on it a little bit better, but our development was in, the reason why it has not developed is we had a lot of issues pending with previous ownership. We just finalized some legalities and some litigation, which gave us the rights to some property extending phase 1. That development went bankrupt in '08, and the people that thought that they owned the HOA are in Israel. So it was quite an issue to deal with. We recently settled in court, and we're looking to develop the next 2 parcels, which would double the size of that development. This development will seriously affect that, for starters. The people that live on the backside, as he just spoke to, the transient activity at these locations are not good. They've been taking over Kmart's, different things. We have a vacant Christmas tree store right around the corner that would be great for this. No residential activity there. It's a vacant property. As far as the property, the vacant property, my experience on real estate is anything sells if the price is right. I don't know what the asking price was for that. And the Allreds that own the other property behind our property, the people that had the development prior, they want too much money for the real estate. That's why it hasn't developed. That's why nothing's happened. It's not a fact of slow development, other than the fact that the property's priced too high for the market. Now that the road in Douglas is complete, there's a lot of activity. There's for sale signs on every single property that's vacant, except for the recent development. I'm all for developing that property. U-Haul's not the right fit at all. The transient activity is going to affect any of the residentials left. On the backside, our condo development, the people across the street. That's what I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak against? Please come forward. Sir, if you could let the young lady come forward. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Darylyn Tingle, and I live at 17160 Cherokee Drive. When I'm walking our dogs, I'm going to read this to you. When I'm walking our dogs on our little oasis called Cherokee Drive, Ronnie and Charlie are disturbed and frightened by unfamiliar sounds and noises. Every household on Cherokee Drive, there are, I think, 12 houses, would be negatively impacted by the destruction of the woods behind our homes. We all cherish the tranquility of the street where we live. The installation of storage units directly behind any one of our homes would disturb the peace and destroy what little is left of the woods which buffer us from our busy surroundings, effectively removing habitat for the diverse wildlife we enjoy. The abundance of birds, deer, rabbits, squirrels, and other wild mammals will be lost. We feed and water a large variety of birds and especially enjoy watching the bluebirds and different varieties of woodpeckers which frequent our front yard. We also often hear the warm hooting of owls and appreciate the bats who serve a vital role in our ecosystem on Cherokee Drive. And I would like to ask that you allow the rest of the residents on Cherokee Drive to speak next.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak against petition number 2401? Would you please state your name and address?
My name is Angela Wynn, and I live at 17145 Cherokee Drive. I have been there for almost 26 years, and I do cherish the seclusion that we have. We are close to everything, but yet it doesn't feel like that. And so I do oppose this for many, many reasons. Again, lighting. I feel the harsh lighting impacts the nearby residential areas. The noise that we would be experiencing from the comings and goings all day long, all week long. I'm concerned about the impact of maybe the property values, the property taxes. I'm concerned about safety, as this man has mentioned that he's experienced in another area. I'm concerned about safety for everybody that's close to there, especially on our little Cherokee Drive. And again, Darylyn had mentioned the wildlife. You know, we have many wildlife, and I'm concerned that, you know, what happens to them when you take away their home, like where are they going to go? And I agree that there's many other places that this would be more beneficial in the surrounding areas, like he said, the old Christmas tree shop, and there's many other properties that this would probably be a better fit for. So I believe that is all that I had to say, but I do oppose this request. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could approach the microphone, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Lori Schmidt. I live at 17155 Cherokee Drive. My husband and I have raised a family there for the last 26 years. I am vehemently opposed to this. I'm concerned, again, about the safety. I'm concerned about the light, the noise, again, the runoff. I am also concerned about our property values. I'm concerned about the young families that are now on the street. We have young children. And honestly, I do not want to open my front curtains and see a 48-foot tall building with lights on every morning. Thank you.
Again, as a reminder, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Allison Kincaid, and I live at 17130 Cherokee Drive. South Bend, Indiana. This is a neighborhood that is directly west of 1693 Douglas Road and the adjacent vacant property that petition 24-1 refers to. I fell in love with the location of the house as soon as I viewed it. It's conveniently close to South Bend, Granger, and Mishawaka. We have the toll road just north of us, US 23 just west, and the main street of Douglas south of us, which sounds like the neighborhood should be noisy and a busy nightmare, but what sold it for me are the woods that surround our street that create a peaceful paradise for all residents that live there. I don't feel as if I'm right in the middle of three cities. I feel safe, enclosed, and at peace in my neighborhood. Annexing and rezoning this lot will lead to eventually eliminating over half the forest that surrounds our home. And it will not only obliterate our sanctuary, but also trigger numerous adverse consequences. For starters, there will be an increase in noise and light pollution on top of the obvious air pollution increase. The safety of all the Cherokee residents and surrounding businesses and residences will be threatened, and there will be a decrease to property values and the tearing down and killing of protected species that call these woodlands their home. In August 2023, the EPA released that noise, air, and light pollution adversely affects the lives of millions. Their studies, and the many I have found, have shown that there is direct links between noise, light, and health. This leads to the increased exposure leads to heart issues, stress-related illnesses, sleep disturbances, and many more. The research is consistent. Noise, light, and air pollution are a danger to our health. Destroying over half the woods around our neighborhood will have a negative health effect on the Cherokee Drive residents and all who live in the Irish Way apartments to the east of the woods. It will effectively strip us of our sound barrier, and no fence or wall will be able to replicate what nature has done for us. Petition 24-1 will guarantee each resident in the Cherokee Drive neighborhood a decrease in our health status and a dramatic increase in medical bills. On top of our health being threatened, our safety will also be jeopardized. In June of 2023, Trotter of Fox SA News reports that storage units nationwide are being burglarized at alarming rates. Crime rates and statistics report increased theft, vandalism, and other crimes at storage units and the area around them. Storage units next to the Cherokee Drive neighborhood and the Irish Way apartments jeopardizes the safety of all residents. As one of the more vulnerable residents in the neighborhood, I must be extra cautious of my safety. The future planned tearing down of the woods and building U-Haul and storage units leaves all of us vulnerable to vandalism, theft, and many more threats. Another safety issue is that of the coyotes. 2 years ago, when Oral Surgery Michiana was under construction, built on Douglas Road directly across the woods from mine and my neighbors' houses, coyotes were shaken enough to move from their original den to make their home directly behind our houses. No part of the woods was touched during this process. Now imagine eventually tearing down over half the woods that the coyotes call home, and also the current construction plan for the U-Haul, which will create chaotic noise and take away their territory and their access to the northern woods. Now they can no longer go north, east, or south. Their only option is to go west along the woods towards US 23. This is not only closer to families with young children at the end of the street, but also dangerously close to the South Bend KinderCare daycare on US 23. The caretakers and parents of the children that attend the daycare are currently unaware that the tearing down a large part of the woods and this construction for the U-Haul will be pushing coyotes to their back door. The destroying of these woodlands and plan to build U-Haul units is a safety hazard to all those in the area. Besides our inevitable health bills, another financial concern is the drop in property values this plan will create. Because most of the land is not zoned for residential property, rezoning it for commercial use should theoretically not lower property values for surrounding residential property. However, it will drastically lower the perception of the property value, and the likelihood of future potential residents to find the location attractive will decline dramatically as well. Many have stated that they would not move into a neighborhood with storage units or U-Haul next door. The city would be remiss to ignore the voice of the people and the popular perception that these storage units will decrease property values. Additionally, something that cannot be overlooked is the requested annexation lot is currently used for residential use. And Corey Sylvester, who's in Real Time, which is a company whose software collects wildlife in general that live in the woodland paradise, our community is most concerned for the variety of protected species that call the woodlands their home. The existing conditions of this lot is made up mostly of a woodland home to hundreds of species. Residents have seen and heard the striking beauty of the woodpecker in our yards and the woods frequently. The Center for Wildlife Damage Management states that the legal status of all species of woodpeckers are classified as migratory non-game birds and are therefore protected by the Federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Residents have also reported seeing the endangered and protected plant species of Trillium. And there are also reports of seeing and hearing owls, bats, and bluebirds back in the woods, which are all protected species. While I'm not a wildlife preservation specialist by any means, I do know that the presence of these protected species provide evidence for the existence of many more. Building this U-Haul as storage units and eventually tearing down the woods would tear down their homes, and in doing so, will kill these animals, thus violating federal law. These issues also extend further than the limited 300-foot radius that was given notice of this development. The residents of the Cherokee Drive neighborhood do not just stick to their homes. Family closer to 23 come to the circle all the time to play, and we always have gatherings there as well. It's truly a community and will be negatively affected if the woods are allowed to be destroyed and this U-Haul center built. We are also aware that the residential woodland property for sale to the north of us is owned by the same owners who is currently petitioning today for 24-1. And if this petition were to succeed, who's to say they won't stop there and will continue to destroy our peaceful peninsula? The safety and well-being of all residents in the Cherokee Drive neighborhood is being jeopardized due to this petition. The habitat and lives of many protected species will be destroyed, and federal laws will be violated if these woods are allowed to be cleared out and U-Haul and storage units erected. On top of that, there are already 5 storage units within 3 miles of this location, with a 6th unit currently under construction just down the road at US 23 in Cleveland. Adding another storage unit would continue to oversaturate the area with units, decreasing property values and deterring residents and businesses alike. I do not consider this best use of land, especially when there are many vacant properties in Mishawaka that are already leveled to just grass, zoned for commercial use, and for sale. We respectfully ask that you leave our woodlands and neighborhood alone in peace. Our neighborhood has collaborated on this statement, is vehemently opposed to petition 24-1, and I am as well. I've also emailed other statements of people who weren't able to be here and signatures as well. To Krista and Derek from the whole neighborhood against this petition. We stand in solidarity against our oasis being destroyed. I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
What would you guys like to see developed there?
Honestly, we would like the woods to stay.
Is there a concerted effort to come together and buy it?
There has been multiple conversations, but we didn't think this would happen as quickly.
Are you aware that anybody can purchase that property? And
Yes.
as long as they're within the guidelines, can take down those trees
Yes, sir.
and level the land?
Mm-hmm.
And that, so,
And that's currently not.
You have to, you're not recognized to speak yet, sir, I'm sorry.
So if they built something residential there, they're going to have to tear out all the woods anyways.
Tearing down the woods for residential use would be slightly better than, well, obviously better than doing for storage unit or commercial use. In that way, they could leave a lot of the woods for backyards for houses. They could leave a lot of that barrier there and woodlands alone, and people can have nice, gorgeous woods for their backyard. That's also less harsh light, less noise, less unknown people, transients coming around as well, if they're like single-family homes or condos or anything like that.
Are there woods on both sides of Cherokee Drive, the little,
There's it's basically makes us a peninsula, so there's woods surrounding all three sides there. And the woods just to the north are also owned by the same company who owns this current plot of land as well. And the neighbors further than the 300-foot limit were not notified of this development. However, I believe that they should have been included and were included by myself and us present, since that property we can see also being torn down for other storage use, U-Haul, commercial, or otherwise.
Any other questions? Just on your response, basically, by law, we have to send out letters to any kind of development 300 feet. And if you don't fall within that area, you will not get a letter.
Okay, yes, I was unaware of where they came from, so thank you for.
Okay, so it's not that we don't want to notify people, but we have to do it by law, the way we do it. So
I understand.
Just wanted to let you know.
I appreciate the clarification.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak against petition number 2401? Oh, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Bondeck. I live at 15714 Durham Way in Granger. I'm an attorney representing the North Douglas Condominium Association, Inc., which is the nonprofit corporation composed of the members and owners of all the 32 units at the North Douglas condominiums, which is directly east of the proposed site. The current zoning is C1, and the proposed use, which is storage, mini storage, is not a permitted use under C1, which is why they're asking for the change. They're asking for a change to S2, planned unit development, but, nominally. However, the permitted use, or the use is only allowed under industrial. So this is an industrial use that is being proposed, and that is under section 137-586A57. That is self-storage, mini storage, a permitted use only under industrial, I-1 designation. So the proposal is for an industrial use to be sandwiched between two residential properties. You've got the North Douglas condominiums and 32 owners and residences on the east, and the subdivision, and those folks have spoken, on the west. I think we all can agree an industrial use has a high impact and an adverse impact on residential uses, which is why you don't see industrial uses right next to residences, okay? A commercial, a C1 designation, the lowest commercial designation, is what has been developed thus far east of Douglas and should continue. There should not be an industrial use sandwiched between the residential properties. The proposal is a massive 3-story building with a fleet of vehicles that are coming and going. We've heard about trailers, hitches, box trucks, pickup trucks, coming, going, being shunted, as they say. There have been a number of concerns about how a facility like this looks in other locations. And again, it's the renderings. It looks like an impressive facility, but it's just in the wrong place. So I'd ask on behalf of the owners of the condominiums to deny the petition.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
mid-century modern structure, which I purchased from the original owner. I have invested over $70,000 in updates and renovations to the home while also keeping with its historical quality. One key element of the home's design are large glass windows which overlook the backyard. I spent considerable time watching the large variety of birds, including owls and hawks, observing a family of 5 deer who have been residents the entire time I have been there, along with the large variety of other small mammals who all live in the wild. They are not a nuisance, and none of my neighbors feed them or complain about them. The proposed usage of the land behind my home, which extends in either direction, would negatively impact my property value and the wildlife in the area. At present, the small wooded space serves as a buffer between Cherokee Drive homes and the noise of Douglas Road, and provides a buffer between our homes and the apartment complex off Irish Way. I'm not opposed to the annexation of the property in the crosshatch area noted on the map as 16963 Douglas Road are in the area adjacent to Shawn Street directly behind that property. My concern is with the planned unit development noted in the proposal that runs from Douglas Road behind my home and beyond. That decision will have direct implications that must be evaluated. I hope you will consider the environmental impact as well as the long-lasting impact of the loss of green space, wildlife habitat, and home values. I am unable to attend the meeting, but I hope you will continue to keep me informed as the decisions are made. And this is signed by an Elizabeth Ann Roycroft at 17125 Cherokee Drive. The other letter we have is I'm writing to express my strong opposition to this petition submitted by Charles Rupley, which requests an annexation of property for storage units. The proposed annexation not only raises significant environmental concerns, but also poses threats to the safety and well-being of the residents in our community. First and foremost, the wooded areas targeted for annexation is home to a diverse range of wildlife. The construction of storage units would undoubtedly lead to the displacement of these animals, disrupting the delicate balance of our local ecosystem. As responsible stewards of the environment, it is imperative that we prioritize the preservation of these habitats for the sake of our wildlife and future generations. Furthermore, the introduction of storage units in the neighborhood would result in increased light pollution and noise disturbance. The serene ambiance that currently characterizes our community would be compromised, negatively impacting the quality of life for residents. Additionally, the construction and operation of storage facilities are bound to generate significant noise pollution, further disrupting the peace and tranquility of our surroundings. The proposed annexation raises valid concerns regarding property values. The presence of storage units in close proximity to residential areas could potentially decrease property values, affecting the investment and financial well-being of homeowners in the vicinity. As residents, we have vested interest in maintaining the integrity and value of our properties, and the approval of this petition could jeopardize these interests. Beyond environmental and financial concerns, there are serious apprehensions regarding safety. The influx of traffic, unfamiliar individuals into our neighborhood poses inherent risk to the safety and security of residents. Increased vehicular activity and foot traffic could potentially compromise the safety of our community, particularly for vulnerable populations such as children and the elderly. In light of these concerns, I urge you to carefully reconsider the approval of petition 2024-01. If annexation is deemed unavoidable, I implore you to impose stringent regulations and mitigation measures to address the aforementioned issues. At the very least, provisions such as trees or fences should be mandated to shield our community from the adverse effects of the proposed storage units. As elected officials entrusted with the well-being of our community, I urge you to prioritize the interests and concerns of the residents in your decision-making process. Together, we must strive to preserve the natural beauty, tranquility, and safety of our neighborhood to current and future generations. So thank you for your attention in this matter. Signed, Andrew Zeiger at 5625 Irish Way.
Thank you, Dave. Any other additional information pertaining to this petition?
No further.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. Oh, you want to speak, okay, against this petition? Okay.
Kurt Urbanski, 5625 Irish Way, Unit 10, and the treasurer of the Condo Association Board. I live in the condo on the building to the west at the southern portion, so the storage facility would butt right up against my backyard. I'm concerned about the property value, the noise, the light pollution, trees, I live on the second floor, trees around are not going to block out the lights or the view of the three-story building. Like this gentleman mentioned, we just went through a legal battle with another entity regarding the common areas. And our plan now is to move forward with expanding the condominium to the north and building at least 1 or 2 additional buildings to try to double the size of our condominium community currently, increase our revenue and spread our expenses over more units. I just am concerned that being surrounded on practically 4 sides by storage units is going to hinder our ability to find a developer to come in and want to expand further or repave our road. I do enjoy living in the middle of South Bend, Granger, Mishawaka. Everything is close. It's 10 minutes away, but it doesn't feel like I live in the middle of a big city because I do have the woods and the wildlife and the deer and birds right behind me. It's quiet, it's peaceful. It's a buffer between me and the residences on the cul-de-sac there. And that's, I think, all I have to say.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioners? Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in opposition? Ma'am, before you come up, we want anybody else to have a chance to speak.
I know I didn't have more to say. I had emailed other statements and signatures to Mishawaka, to the city, that weren't read, so I just wanted to make sure those.
I did not, none of us, I mean, we can all, you said you had my email. I'm Krista.
Just chill too, yeah.
Yeah,
chill
I
too.
did not receive any additional emails other than the one that we read
Okay.
here,
So I have one of them printed out. I didn't bring the signatures with me, but it's from all of the residents. Is it okay if I submit the other statement for reading? It's from a different resident. Is that okay?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Should I give it or?
Give it to the... Derek, is that just from one person?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Jennifer Hart, and I live at 17135 Cherokee Drive. I have lived here for 22 years and love it here. What I love about this area is quiet that it provides and the feeling of living in a rural setting, yet still surrounded by shopping areas and restaurants of our choice. All the beautiful oak trees surrounding our house are peaceful and let us enjoy nature daily. I have seen wild turkey, deer, woodpeckers, coyotes, foxes, and lots of squirrels that I enjoy feeding daily in my backyard. The setting in our backyard is perfect as there is no one behind us but the woods, and it allows us our privacy that we have grown accustomed to all these years. Our neighbors are simply the best. We are always there to watch out for each other and help out for each other. Some of us have been living on Cherokee longer than I have. It has been great watching our little neighborhood grow and change throughout the years. When I received the letter about the storage facility being built behind my home, my heart sank. I cannot understand why there is a need for another one when one has just been built and not even yet open on State Road 23. There is another storage facility behind the 7-Eleven on Douglas, and I'm greatly opposed to having this built, especially behind my house and near my neighborhood. Putting this facility behind us would mean a multitude of issues and problems. The beautiful landscape and oak trees that have been there for so many years will be taken down, and this will harm the wildlife that depends on the wooded areas. Not to mention, taking down these trees would result in noise pollution since the trees protect our neighborhood from the sounds outside of our area. Storage facilities typically attract theft and dishonest people who try to break into these things. We have a lot of nice things in our home and in our backyard. If this facility gets built, people will start to see our backyard and other neighbors around us and could potentially create a problem. Lighting from the facility will cause light pollution. It is currently a rural setting with the woods behind us. Taking down the trees and adding a building with lots of lighting for security also causes light pollution and is not healthy for the people who must live by it daily. I personally do not want to have close
I personally do not want to have to close my windows at night when it is nice out because the light is too bright from this place. Noise pollution. Building this facility, taking the trees down, and adding light pollution will also create noise pollution. Right now, it is very quiet where we live and have been for the past 22 years. And yet again, I do not want to have to close my windows at night because there are people there at this facility or getting into this facility. Property values are going to drop with this new facility. I'm sure my neighbors, as well as myself, would not want to stand for this if this happens. We have all worked very hard in our lives for what we currently have. Losing that value is not fair for us homeowners. Trying to sell our houses with that facility behind it will become difficult due to the noise pollution, light pollution, and crime it can potentially produce. I love where I live. So many memories have been made here. I do not want my quality of life to diminish due to the storage facility that could be built anywhere in Mishawaka. I hope our words will be considered regarding this proposed facility. Thank you for listening. Signed, Jennifer Hart.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak against petition number 2401?
Mr. Emmons?
Please.
Could I ask Mr. Prince to address the zoning appropriateness of the industrial versus the requested S2?
Yes, please, Mr. That was my question.
I will be happy to address that, but I would say that it's normal to go through the for, the against, and then allow for rebuttal, and then entertain the questions. The question regarding zoning right now, I think it's important to note, and this is before my time, I started with the city in 1999, but this property, I believe, has been zoned, it's been zoned S2 planned unit development since 1990 in the city of Mishawaka, and currently permits C1 commercial uses. What that means, if you go further down Douglas Road, kind of near the hospital, you'll see where the Holiday Inn is located. You could essentially build, right now, you can clear all the woods, build a hotel, and put a restaurant on the front of it, and that's by right what was done in 1990. So when you look at staff's recommendation is based on what is already currently permitted on the property, and we felt like the self-storage is a less intensive use than even what's currently permitted on the property. It is true the self-lock storage is a permitted use in the I-1 light industrial zoning district, but I would also say that automobile leasing facilities are permitted in C1 district, so this falls a little bit in that classification. The commercial classification that you go for shipping, your rental, buying storage boxes, and the like would all be considered much more of a commercial use than the industrial use. So I don't know if that answers your question, Mr. Portalese, but that this is more of a hybrid use that they're proposing on the property. And as you can see, and has been referenced, self-lock storage is, I don't know where the need is coming from, but we have it happening all over the city, including vacant properties all over. So, and right next door, obviously, there's the gas station and self-lock storage already.
So is your opinion that the self-storage U-Haul facility would be conforming in an S2 zoning?
So that, the nature of your question, I can't answer. So an S2 plan unit development zoning only means you're writing it specifically to a plan, and the plan originally for this property was C1 general commercial. So they're asking for an amendment to the S2 PUD, but an S2 PUD can be an industrial, it can be a residential complex, it can be a wide number of entities. In this case, I would concentrate more that currently C1 general commercial uses is what's permitted for the property, and they're asking for the change to allow the self-lock storage on the property. That is the fundamental change that they're asking for the property.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Prince.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wish to opposition to petition number 2401? Is there anyone online that would like to speak in opposition to petition number 2401? If not, then the petitioner has the right to rebuttal. Excuse me.
Yes, sir. I would like to speak very briefly in opposition. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Hello, I am on WebEx, and I would like to speak very briefly in opposition.
Would you please state your name and address, please?
Yes, sir. Dave Cloutier. My business property is at 17150 State Road 23, South Bend.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I don't want to repeat what all the other opponents stated, so I'll just add a couple quick points. I own my office property is at the very northwest corner of this property subject to the petition. So I can't say that I'm as directly affected as the folks on Cherokee and Irish Way, and it is my office property, not my residence. However, it does seem to me like you all can have your cake and eat it too, in a way, and the owners of the property can have a beneficial use of their property. The portion of the property that abuts Douglas, if you will, kind of that's parallel to the annexation part and then goes to the north and kind of in that line, that's a usable business property in a great location on Douglas that has value. But to sandwich in something like storage units and truck shunting in between the few other residences to the north of Cherokee, but also the folks on Cherokee and the folks on Irish Way, seems to me to be unnecessary, and denying the petition does not deprive the owners of beneficial use of their property. And the only other point I'd make really quickly, some of the residents, the residential properties in the area spoke about the wildlife. I'm no expert on wildlife or the federal law that protects them, but there are definitely a wide variety of wildlife because they come onto our property and they get caught on our cameras. Deer, of course, there's probably, at least I've seen on my property simultaneously, about 15 deer at a time. So there's definitely deer back there. Clearly, there's also coyotes. And I have also seen and caught on camera several red foxes, which are a fairly unique animal. And I understand that the zoning already allows the owners to do similar things, but they haven't done it so far. And to allow this kind of intense industrial type of use with all the comings and goings, as the other opponents have stated, seems to me to be unnecessary, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Again, before we get into the rebuttal, is there any other opposition, people that want to speak in opposition to petition 2401? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on behalf of
give your name again, please.
Paul Ruchelang, 5525 Irish Way, Unit 16. I wanted to speak on the hotel development that was down the road. What's the residential density in that area in comparison? Do we know that figure?
I don't have any idea, sir. I don't know.
Based on my limited knowledge, I don't think there's anything. There might be one house over there. So if there was one home here and you put that hotel back there, I don't think there'd be such an opposition. But the residential density in the area he speaks on is nothing like this. Completely. Apples and oranges.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll have a rebuttal, if you please. Mr. Pericini, are you going to be the one to speak and answer some of these questions?
Yeah, I will. I want to probably first allow if U-Haul wants to comment on, if she's still online, because, you know, I'm not developing the property, U-Haul is, so there might be more specific questions that she can address, so I'm not sure if she's still online. I think she probably is. But I can address a few things. First of all, we've never been approached about buying the property ever. That's not true. The land there, don't own the land going east and west. Don't own the land south. Cherokee, we don't own north of it, and we don't own south of it. None of the development's going there. U-Haul is going to develop everything up on the front where the commercial zoning is. I don't think they even have plans towards the back right now. There's no federal law that says that we can't tear woods down and you got to worry about fox and all that. I sympathize with it, but it's all over the county. So that, it's just not really, there's no light pollution, there's no water runoff. The city has requirements, strict requirements on buffering against residential, what kind of lights you can use, how many illuminations, where they start down, all that stuff. The city is very, very stringent on it. It's a very heavy growth area, and we think it's a great project to go there. The other note is the condos there came after the warehouses were built in there. So people bought those knowing the warehouses were there. That was a choice they made. And it's unfortunate, Irish Way, I'm very familiar with what's going on. They've approached me about selling their property, and it's been a nightmare from day one, unfortunately. But it is what it is. So I think that some of those conversations, we can't be really held land hostage because somebody, they like the woods by their house, they don't own the woods. We're trying to protect that as much as we can. The city ordinance, what they can justify is that, or say that there has to be some buffer between residential against commercial. So those are in the ordinance. I don't even, if you look at it, I don't know what, and I can't speak for U-Haul on their whole growth because I don't know exactly what they're doing. But you can see all the developments up in the front for right now. So that's just some of the points I wanted to make aware of, that what the city demands. And I know I've been involved in many warehouses many years ago. It's always been kind of an issue, but ironically, they are a very low traffic. People don't come in and out of there. They put stuff in their units. Leon can attest to that better than I, but I do own a facility in Michigan City, and I built that facility. It's not a high traffic. And if you run them right, they're secure. And if you read what U-Haul does, they put a lot of money and investment, from what I read, in securing these facilities and only allow certain, the codes of the entrance and the gate system and all that security, so they're pretty tight with it. But they build a very nice facility. But I wanted to address those questions that were brought up, and we sympathize with it, but I can't, foxes and all that stuff. What can you do? We can clear the woods anytime. We've held back a little bit. We almost cleared it this year, but we were just kind of waiting on it to see where this project was going to go. So, but I'd be glad to answer any questions, and I know if the attorney, she's still online, they may want to address some of those specific points about U-Haul, because like I said, I can't address the specific operation points about them.
Mr. Perrotini, you started to address the clearance of the woods in that. Are they going to develop back there and remove the wooded area?
If you look at the plan, they do show some of that back area still that they're not using it. That's for whatever future they may use, down the road. I mean, it's a pretty big facility right here. So I think they just hold it for growth pattern.
So,
but I don't see it on the plans, but they'd have to address that.
I was going to say, I don't see it either, and that's why everybody's concerned if it's not going to be touched, basically.
I don't see it being touched for right now, but I don't want to say that for sure because, well, right now it's not. Yeah. I just don't know what their plans are in the future, and I don't know if Leon would know that either.
Well, it could
I don't think we met last week to kind of talk about this, and they had no plans at this point. Yeah. So because it's a lot of land, they just bought kind of excess for it. They wanted the frontage is what they really wanted.
Any developer that would come in and purchase that property, he'd come in and just wipe all that out, correct?
No, right. And they're not going to buy the back. I mean, the whole piece is for sale, so.
Yeah, but I'm just saying where that wooded area, their concern is, and another developer could come in and just level that woods.
Yeah, anybody could. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way, because it is zoned, it's a PUD now, which is inaccurate, the PUD. You can amend a PUD for whatever uses you want, but it's got to be approved by the body. Mm-hmm. So, and like the city has gave its, recommendation in favor, and then it comes to you, and then the city, the city as being a council member, that's where the final decision is. It's not what the code is, PUD is for flexibility. That's what it's for. It's a very good, Mishawaka kind of has mastered it over the years. Back when I was on the council, it started, we were one of the first communities to do it because it allowed flexibility on parcels. And then it allowed protection to the neighbors that if you change something, you have to come back and you have to come back to another public meeting. You can't just swap it around. If you say you're going to use these two uses, that's what they have to be used for.
Thank you, Mr. Perrotini, for addressing the concerns about the wooded area. Also, the city has an ordinance on the light, you can't have the light going on other piece of property. It has to be maintained on your property. And another one was drainage. All water has to be maintained on their property. It
Yeah,
can't be
there's-
drained off to somebody else's property, correct?
Yep.
And
most people use, if you have natural woods and you have to buffer by ordinance, you leave it.
yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense. It's less money than building fences and all that kind of stuff. Because that's what the ordinance will allow, so many trees or fencing or whatever, they give you options to it. So most of the time, I mean, I've done it, people that I've represented, if you got wood there, you leave it. You know, it's less, it's natural and it's less clearing and it's less expensive than have to tear all that out and put fencing and all that, so.
So you've addressed the lighting that there was concerned. You've
Right.
addressed the buffer. You've addressed the drainage. Is there anything else that we've missed on their concerns of the constituents?
John, another issue I heard repeatedly was the effect on property values, if you wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to call that on certain, there's so many different uses out here. I mean, because like, there's mini storage was built down on 23. Very little, was no remonstration on that. You have a lot of properties along 23 by Cherokee that are going commercial, So it just, there's a shortage of residential properties now, so values are up. I just don't think that, I don't see the big impact on this property. And Irish Way, I just can't call it because it's been, vacant so long. I don't think it was constructed initially like, condos, you got up and down, so I think that was a problem. And like, as he mentioned, the developer did go bankrupt on that, and then it got into the other hand. So it's hard to call that because it's already established in that area by the storage facility. So, but property values are up, but it's a peculiar area because there's just a lot of growth. You're on 23, you're on Douglas. You're not going to see a lot of residential development anymore in that area, obviously. The corner, I was involved in that project with the convenience store, with clients. So you just see a lot of growth that's pushing towards that kind of growth, that's mixed kind of growth. So it's kind of hard to call it right now because of the push. Everybody along 23 is trying to sell their property for commercial is what they're doing,
John, help me again. So these condos were Irish Way. The warehouses were there first before
Right.
Irish Way was developed.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we sold that to, we had back in early 90s, my partner and I, we had built the warehouses and then sold, then the developer came in and bought the land years later to put the Irish Way in. And it just got through about 2 buildings and then it stopped and then it got into the hands. And then I think, I don't know for sure, but I think some of the partners with the Israel group kind of split. And I think that caused some of the issues too. But I don't know. I don't want to speak out of school. I just know it's been sitting there for quite some time. And there's utilities have been improved back there.
What are the concerns? Irish Way. I mean, the wooded buffer. I'm very sympathetic to that. I can't imagine anybody in the room wouldn't be. But the fact is that right now those trees could be removed. I mean, they could be removed at any time by anybody for any use. But Irish Way, help me understand what is going to abut Irish Way directionally. I understand the light pollution, and I do know that, I mean, almost everywhere in the city, you're going to have a little light splitter. But help me what directly abuts and what are you going to see when you look over from Irish Way?
I think, first of all, if you look, Irish Way, I believe, has their own buffer of trees right along that tree line right along their property line. But I think there may be, just looking at the plan that I've looked at, the big buildings, the tall buildings, and the other buildings are side by side up in front of Douglas. So the 3-row mini storage is probably what's going to be behind there. It doesn't appear it's going to get too far deep in there. Leanne, I think you can attest to that. It doesn't look like, if you look at that plan, because that's the same plan I have. So that's, if you can see right there, it's about at the entrance. That's the big building, and then the building to the right's the other one, and then the 3 storage ones. And the rest is there's no plans that I know of that they're clearing any more land. I don't, it wouldn't make any sense at this point.
Thank you.
And like I said, by this aerial that I gave you, you can see the row of, that's not our property, that's a row of trees buffered there by Irish Way right now. And that project's probably gonna be ending about right in here.
So on the,
Sorry.
you can't see Cherokee Drive on here. Where exactly would, so where does that future area of development end here? Yeah. Yes.
So it appears right where the clearing is, there, those units are gonna be. That's right, you can see it's cleared right in the back end.
So the first phase is not going to butt up to Cherokee Drive? It's not going to be right behind it?
No, I think all the buildings are gonna be up front, and then there'll be 3 mini storages right behind them. So probably around where that cleared area is.
I can also further add to that. This is Gernor or from U-Haul side. Currently, all that you can see that is being proposed is the land that had already been cleared. So nothing that is forested is yet being touched. It is just being contained for any future development as the need arises. So nothing is really going to abut for now, like the Cherokee Drive. Everything has been cleared, is being proposed for the development. And once John is done, I can address a few of the concerns brought up by the community members in regards to the development policy. And so I'll let John finish first. So.
Would U-Haul consider it at any point to convert that into a wildlife sanctuary? There's a lot of tax benefits to do such a thing, and leave it as it is.
I doubt it.
I am a land use and zoning planner. I'm just facilitating the application. I don't make decisions here, so I can't really comment on something that big. I'm sure that you all will be willing to talk to the community as well as, the commission members to discuss, heavy landscape buffer zones. Unfortunately, I can't comment to something that specific. It's not something I can make a call.
Mr. Pericini?
Yes.
Looking at this drawing here, with your property that's going from Douglas Road, going back towards Cherokee Drive, how far back are they going to build the first phase?
Right, she had mentioned, and I've seen in the plan, see where it's cleared? It's cleared in my parcel, that little square. That piece right there. There's Cherokee. Cherokee's not going to get disturbed north and south, and at this point, it's not going to disturb the east.
But looking at this drawing here, it's a little bit clearer where your land is and here where Cherokee is. How far back? Are they going back about to here, or are they going all the way back to here on that first phase?
Which one? Can I put that up?
It's a location map for petition 2401. There you go.
It looks, by that drawing, it's about right up to the bottom of Cherokee, the residence there. Looks like that's where we're cleared, I'm pretty sure. I can't see, from the clearing, I can't see their property. So that's where they're planning, she had said they're not clearing anymore. That's where they're planning on stopping somewhere in there. And I can't see Cherokee property when I'm on the property, yeah, right there.
Okay, so you're basically about right in.
Yeah, right there or below. That's what, yeah.
Yeah, where the. on
That's
the-
cleared already.
Yeah,
It's
on
just
the-
at the tip of Cherokee there.
Okay,
And we don't, and keep in mind, we don't own, like I said, I don't want to keep repeating it, but since somebody brought it up, we don't own south of it and we don't own north of it. That's not our property, and that's not part of this deal. Someone had mentioned the north part, which it's not.
So they're look-
I've had it for sale, I just represent, I'm not the landowner.
yeah. So basically, you're going halfway up your
That's
property.
what their plan is right now, yes. And like I said, the city does have ordinance, well, you're well aware of it, you vote on them a lot, and all the members, you know, they have the ordinance that if you have commercial up against residential, you have to buffer.
Right.
You know, I mean, and there is
What
a
is-
natural
what
buffer
is
there.
that bu-
There is a natural buffer there.
What is the buffer?
Yeah.
10 feet,
I don't know what
5
the
feet?
ordinance is.
15, it said 15.
Yeah, I don't,
So a
Ken would know
tree.
it, or Derek would know it, but, you know, there's side yard, front yard, and all that. But like I said, usually, it's not my decision, usually, when there's natural buffer, people, they'd rather keep the natural buffer because it's less expensive and it's already fully grown and protected, you know, so it's, well, 90% of the time, they keep it.
John, you've been in commercial real estate for a long time, so I'm going to throw this question to you. Maybe you can answer. There's concern about their real estate values going down as residential properties. But would this area be considered commercial growth area in the next 20, 30 years where the values could go up as commercial moves through that area?
Yeah, it's definitely a commercial area. It's medical, commercial. I mean, I don't see office coming just because of the markets in the Glide, but it's not a residential area. Now, somebody could do high-density housing of multifamily if they can, you know, pay the prices and it makes sense, but it'd have to be, and the city's good on it, but it's got to be really high density, you know, where you're talking 300-400 units.
Sure.
You know, not just 30 or 40 units. So, but, I mean, that's what the growth is. It's going to be, you know, they keep, all the medical keeps going on the other side. You know, everything, properties to the south side going to the west and south bend, they're for sale. I got a dental looking, another dental operation looking over there. So it was a car wash approved right behind the gas station or the C-store, but he hasn't started yet. So it's all, you know, it's already approved for it. And,
It's encroaching.
yeah, it's encroaching. It's because Angela's gave him too many variances. And she went out the door. So that hasn't developed, that's been approved. So that's what's going on in the, you know, that area is going to be, you know, that's what, to the east of it, they cleared all that, you know, and that's for sale. So it's just taken a little while. It's mostly because the road, you know, and you can see the traffic. If you look at today's stats, there's more traffic on Douglas than there is on Grape Road on that, in that section right there. It's not going to be residential, so. And I sympathize with the people, but we have this, as Mishawaka developers, Mishawaka council members, plan commission members, brokers, we've seen this for years. Mishawaka has pushed with their growth is so good and so strong, but when it butts up against county, it's always not easy. I mean, I understand it. It's been going on since the mall built. You know, it's constantly had it on Cleveland Road down there by Jude Creek. You know, the whole neighborhood, you know, but the city is growing, you know, it continues to grow. And when you butt up against county residents, you know, they don't like it, I get it, but that's the growth of the city, unfortunately. And sometimes you just happen to be up against it, you know. Happened up in North Gumwood, you know, went through the same thing up there. So, but that's because the city just keeps growing, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners for Mr. Perricini?
I have a general question. The storage units that went up by the bypass, you were a part of those, weren't you?
Yes.
So we had a lot of neighborhood rebuttal on those. Do you know anything that's happened with those storage units? Has there been crime? Has there been complaints? Do you know anything about that?
No, they haven't had, I talk to them regularly, they're a client of mine. They kept it, they got a pretty secure system, just like U-Hauls. They haven't had any issues. They're not putting, their only problem was utilities, getting there were expensive, so they didn't put an office there. So they're monitoring it from a corporate office, you know, but they have had no, you know, they're still doing some construction, but they haven't had any issues with it at all.
And
Those days are, people, I mean, and I'm not criticizing anybody, but you hear this all the time. I've heard this about self-storage when I built that, you know, people are going to break in, they're coming in our neighborhoods. It just doesn't happen. It's not that. People put stuff in there, they don't come around. You just don't get that kind of, and these are really, I mean, the protection, you can't have people breaking into units or you won't have a business, you know, so they spend a lot of money on security.
I live near those storage units on the south side, and I have not noticed any difference, to be honest with you. Like,
Yeah.
it seems to be very quiet.
I'll tell you, it's been a big, they fill up, and I'm no different than anybody that's in here that says, gee, do we need another one? You know, I see them, and we got thousands of units going on, and most of them are in Mishawaka. And a lot of inside units, but they keep building them, and these are national companies. They actually do their marketing. They don't just plop one in here, you know, they check them out, and they do their marketing, and so there is a demand for them, and there's a need for it, you know, so.
Any other questions for Mr. Perricini on the rebuttal?
I've got one for the U-Haul representative. So the truck rental comes hand in hand with the storage units. That's the model that is proposed. It's not just storage units, but it's the truck rental as one piece? Or do you ever separate it out and just do storage
Yes.
units?
Yes, in most of the U-Haul moving and storage facilities, the truck rentals go hand in hand. It's kind of plays like an accessory use to the self-storage because it has been observed that U-Haul customers do tend to rent these while they're moving or they're returning stuff back because it does save them multiple trips if they don't have a larger vehicle sometimes. So yeah, we do always have, in most cases, let me correct myself, in most cases, the truck and trailer sharing goes hand in hand with the self-storage use.
Can you explain where your maintenance is performed on these vehicles? Is there any maintenance on site or is that done off site?
No, there will be no maintenance on site. U-Haul has separate locations that are solely for those purposes, and that's where the vehicles go. No such repair work is done on these kind of facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners for the petitioners?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Perricini. Okay, if there's no other questions,
Somebody's raising their hand.
I can add to a few of the concerns that were brought up by the committee members, specifically in terms of how the facility functions, if that's okay.
thank you. Sir, we're just about ready. We've had the rebuttal. We've had for people to come up and state their objections and that. So I need to know why you're raising your hand now instead of when we had opposition and that. Yes, sir. Please come up to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
Well, I'm Charles Ripley, and I live at 16963 Douglas Road. I don't have the knowledge of Mr. Perricini or the attorney for Mr. U-Haul, but I've been there for 75 years. And in business, usually change is good. And I've seen woods come and go, you know, within sight of my house. So change is good. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, you know, they have the right, you know, Mr. Perricini has the right to cut the woods down. I own property on the other side of the street. So when I sell 16963 Douglas Road, I'm going to move directly across. Never have I had any problems with people breaking into my house. Never had problems with any type of altercations or anything like that. I can still see my great-grandfather's red barn in the mobile home area right there to the, what is that, to the east of us. You know, I can see, you know, that area that they're that is wooded now on Mr. Piercini's property, that was a farm field, you know. There used to be a woods on the front part of that property. That was always devoid because there was hogs, you know, grazing in the woods. The fox, I believe there's still some pine trees down there to the north of the condominiums. And, you know, there were fox in there when I was a kid. You know, they're probably still there, I'm sure. And I'm not aware of any plans to cut those trees down. So there's going to be a buffer zone for the animals there. Another reason why I decided to come up and talk, I wasn't really planning on doing this, but it was sort of a instructional time period for me because I have several other properties that's going to be annexed or can be annexed into the city of Mishawaka. And it's been advised to me, or the advice to me from realtors is to go ahead and clear cut my woods because that'll increase the price of my property. That woods is right across the street. And, you know, I have to take their advice. I'm going to go ahead and clear cut the woods. You know, and I don't really particularly care for that because there are, you know, animals and birds and, you know, coyotes. Of course, coyotes, as far as I'm concerned, could be gotten rid of. But then again, I'm a wood farmer. Now I've lost my track of thought here. But, you know, so, but what I'm saying is, you know, it has to be done. Progress has to be made. You know, I can remember 75 years ago, 65 years ago, that all used to be vacant land. You know, Douglas Road was a dirt road. My dog got killed by the state truck that was clearing the area to the north of us there for the Indiana Toll Road. You know, but it all goes back to the same point. Progress, change is good for progress. There's a lot of environmental laws. You know, we're talking about light pollution. There's a lot of lights that now have to be changed in the city of South Bend, or not have to be, but are being changed to damper the light pollution in the city of South Bend. And, you know, that's progress. We're trying to conserve, you know, what we do have. And proper conservation is the key. Not one little patch here, or one little patch there, but a unified conservation program, which I think the city of Mishawaka, you know, takes into account. You know, they do plant the trees. They do try to landscape the area, make it more, you know, provide habitat when they do develop. You know, naturally, I'm all for this proposal. You know, I mean, my goodness. I mean, you know, I'm one of the people that's going to benefit from this financially. But I think the community will benefit, the total community. I sympathize with the people, you know, I really do. I mean, when Douglas Road was expanded and we had to give up 20 feet of the frontage on both sides of the road, I just went ahead and built a 10-foot fence. It was wonderful. You know, in that little area that I created, I've got all sorts. I've got trillium. I've got you know, a lot of you know, ground squirrels. I've got the birds, everything else in that area. I mean, we can do something for our animals ourselves.
Yes, sir.
We don't have to depend on people else.
I need to cut you short because
Okay.
this was, you were supposed to speak in favor, now this is what they against, and now we're in a rebuttal, so you're kind of out of order, but I appreciate your
Okay.
comments.
Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you. Sir, you've had twice you've been up.
I just want to redirect a few things that were said by Mr. Pericini. Just want to correct a few things that were inaccurate.
All right.
Okay? You need my, Paul Ruschlein, 5 Irish Way, Unit 16. The tree line on the backside, non-existent. Maybe he hasn't walked his own property, I don't know. I'm not a commercial realtor, and I haven't had the success that he's had, but I do know if you look, can you blow that picture up or put a different one up, the one you had before? The tree line in between the single-story storage facility on the east side, that was put up by the developer. That's a good block for a single-story unit. There's nothing to the west, absolutely nothing. So in the event, is the city of Mishawaka, for them to build that, do they require some sort of
Buffer.
Okay. I.e. matching arborvitaes like that's on the other side?
Yeah. So, no.
Okay. So that's one inaccuracy. There's no tree line. The trees on the back side are all the woods. And if there's anything there, it's scrap trees that grew from that wooded area. There's just a drainage facility. As far as residential and everything going commercial, less than a mile away, on 23, they took out a little juice shop. 1.3 million is what they're asking for those condominiums. Across the street from that, they took out a bar. Those units are also in excess of $1 million. Those are all within a 2-mile radius of what this is. This planned development originally was to cater to that university. Commercial, condos would do great in that unit, in that space that he has. So less than a couple miles away. Like I said, I'm no realtor, but they're putting them up down the road. So somebody's making money, and in excess of $1 million a unit. I'm looking at my notes here, bear with me. Not to say John has anything outside the fact that he is the realtor, he is the owner of this development. So I understand he's pro-development. And I'd love for him to sell his property for what he's asking, to a residential facility. I don't care, apartments, condos, housing development, any of the above. Residential care for retirement, all good.
Sir, you're kind of out of order. You're speaking on things that have been covered. So
U-Haul, in closing, I want to say this. I had to move a bed for my daughter. I was in Indianapolis. I have some real estate down there. We were at a U-Haul facility. I had to rent a truck. In an old Kmart, while we're there, one of their customers comes up to try and borrow money to pay for his bill. I'm there one time, okay? If that's the kind of activity that's going to occur, you can't tell me that it's safe and there's no other issues. That's the kind of transient traffic that goes in there. Not all. I mean, I was there. I'm not borrowing money, but it's what comes in to that facility.
thank you for your comments. Okay, I'm going to close the public meeting at this time. And is there any commissioners that wish to speak? Please, go ahead, Mr. Corley.
You know, there's nothing more emotional than protecting our homes. I completely sympathize with you. I took a drive through your neighborhood over the weekend after I got this, and yes, it is lovely, it is quiet, it's peaceful, it's kind of, you would never know where it was at. The problem is, part of what you're enjoying is not yours. It belongs to Mr. Perricini and has been like that for quite a while. And in today's society, you know, you protect what's yours. So that land is sat like that for, John, how long have you owned the property informally? Okay. So, you know, condos could have built, but they didn't buy the property. Neighbors could have bought the wooded area, didn't do so. And I completely understand your feeling. I really, really do. But Mr. Perricini has the right to sell his property, and to whom he sells it to has a right to build as long as it's conforming to what the land is zoned for. And it appears that if they're not going as far back as we first were thinking, there's significant woods to the north, the south, and a fair portion left to the east. So is your neighborhood going to change? Yes. And even if Mr. Perricini doesn't sell to these people, eventually that land can't stay vacant forever. Something will build there. So This is something that has very little traffic. They seem to be good neighbors. They have a good business model. It's a tough one for me because I love my home and I wouldn't want anything to change. But the way our laws are, Mr. Pericini has a right to do what he's requesting. So I just want to make that statement to the rest of my council members that I believe it is maybe not palatable.
2401.
I make a motion to approve 2401.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, 2401.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second on petition 2401. Ms. Burkhart, will you poll the council?
Drew Cash.
Commission? Pardon?
Drew Cash.
Yes.
Woody Emmons.
Yes.
Sam Cressy.
Yes.
Drew Johnson.
Yes.
Randy Frost.
Yes.
Kathy White Gaddich.
No.
Mike Portalese.
Yes.
Petition 2401 passes 6-1. It'll be passed on to the council. Thank you.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes,
Can
please.
you explain to them where this goes from here if they choose to pursue?
It goes to the council, and it'll be read at a council meeting on first reading, and then it'll be voted on at the second meeting.
So tonight's vote is not binding.
Yeah. And the council meetings are the first and third Monday of the month.
It'll go before the Mishawaka Common Council for a first reading.
Yeah.
And is there public comment at those?
Yes. No, not on the first reading.
Not on the first reading, on the
On the
second,
second
correct?
reading. So you're more than welcome to come to that meeting where it'll be addressed to the council at the meeting, and they'll vote on it. They'll have the final say, the council will. So, I'm sorry, sir. It's the second meeting in, no, the next one is what? The next one is next Monday, and it'll be 2 weeks after that.
It should be April 8th.
I think it's April 8th.
It should be
For
the
this-
first
But
Monday.
Woody, they should check with the clerk's office. I know you've moved some dates around.
Okay.
So the second reading normally would be that first meeting in April for this.
Yeah, okay. So about first reading would be, or second reading would be in first meeting in April. But you can call into the clerk's office and they can give you a specific date and that. So, okay? Thank you. Okay, moving on to petition number 2402. There's a petition submitted by Mish RE LLC requesting to annex and establish zoning S2 planned unit development district for property located at the northwest corner of Capitol Avenue and Cleveland Road. Is there anyone here with the petition? If you could give your name and address, please.
Good evening, Angela Smith with Dan Charner and Associates. Office is located at 1643 Commerce Drive. This 20-acre parcel before you is for a rezoning and annexation. The annexation area is quite larger because state law requires us to take into the adjacent right-of-way, so this would take in a portion of Capitol and a portion of Cleveland. The development here is looking as essentially a second phase of the development to the west, which was previously zoned for PUD. The only difference really in uses is that this PUD would include R1 because there is a life estate for the existing home on the property where that homeowner will remain there until such time as they are no longer with us, and then the property will become part of this development. So that's being held for future development. The proposal does not include any additional access points to Cleveland Road. There'll be access through the cross-access easement, shared easements with the property to the west. And the property owner has reviewed the conditions of approval presented by staff and is agreeing to those conditions. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you know what's going to go into that?
So this is part of a planned auto mall, vehicle sales center.
Just for curiosity, that type of development in that area with the housing development just down the road, is that a favorable facility to go in there?
The property immediately to the west was just approved for such a use within the last couple of years. This is the next phase. They just hadn't acquired this land at that time. So it's the same developer, same type of development. Actually, to the west and to the north. So what kind of wraps around this is a previously approved development.
Did you say that house is going to stay there, right?
At this time, yes. As long as the current owner is still alive, that will remain under life estate. I should say the current resident, because they're not the owner of the property anymore.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any commissioners wish to speak or have any questions?
I was going to say, that, and I don't know if this has anything to do with us or not. This might be a question for Ken. Don't necessarily have any issues with the development. It's more that intersection is an absolute nightmare. And anybody who travels through that intersection, it's a state-county thing, I believe, not sure. But you put a development that's going to draw cars in and out of that area. I'm guessing they're coming off of Douglas. That intersection of Douglas and Capitol is an absolute nightmare, almost any time of the day. The turning radiuses are awful. I know it really has nothing to do with you, but I don't know where that sits as far as development goes in that whole, all four quadrants there.
I do know that the plan included something about a potential traffic impact study that may be required by engineering. I don't know if it'll be for this. This particular development isn't proposing any new access points. We have alerted the property owner that when they go through the subdivision process, they will likely be giving up land for additional right-of-way here, though.
On the Douglas.
Yes. No, onto Cleveland. This is at Cleveland, not on Douglas.
Oh, I see, on the north side.
Yeah, we're on the north side of Cleveland.
So you're only going to be able to get into that coming southbound.
There will be an access point to this entire development further to the west under the previously approved PUD. Go right ahead, take over. So the large grayed out area to the west and to the north is already a planned development for a similar kind of use. The utilities would be extended from Veterans Parkway, and I believe there's been discussion about intersection where Veterans Parkway would come up into Cleveland, and eventually that would be the access point to this whole development. Ken had a smile, so I'll let him address that. Okay.
Any questions for petitioner? Thank you. Thank you. Ken, did you have a question, or do you have a? Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in favor of petition 2402? Would you please come forward? Is there anybody online that wishes to speak in favor of petition 2402? Would you please connect? Hearing none. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition to petition number 2402 that is here in the chamber? Seeing none and hearing none, is there anybody online that wishes to speak in opposition to petition 2402? If you would please hook up. Hearing none. I will close the public meeting. Call for a motion. Is there any commissioners wish to speak on this petition? If not, I call for a motion.
I motion to approve petition 2402.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Ms. Burkhart, will you close the poll?
Drew Cash,
Yes.
Woody Emmons,
Yes?
Sam Cressy,
Yes.
Drew Johnson,
Yes.
Randy Frost,
Yes.
Kathy White Gaddich,
Yes.
Mike Portalese,
Yes.
Petition number 2402 passes with a vote of 7-0 and will refer to the council. Moving on to petition 2403, a petition submitted by CZG LLC and CZG2 LLC and GEC2 requesting an annex and establish zoning of an S2 planned unit development district for property located at the southeast corner of Bremen Highway and Dragoon Trail. Is there someone here that would present this petition?
Good evening, Plan Commission members. Chris Godlewski, Abbott Marsh Consultants, 315 West Jefferson Boulevard in South Bend. This is a petition for a 51-lot residential subdivision development on about 18 acres. It's already zoned residential. It's surrounded by residential. The purpose of the PUD is to accommodate some attached dwelling units or or up to a 4-unit dwelling unit. So you would have a 0 setback there. Also some front setback deviations just to kind of get a bigger footprint on the lot. This is a very hilly area out there. It does meet the contiguity requirements for annexation. The type of home that you're going to find out here is going to be at an average of about $450,000 to $500,000. So it'll be a very nice subdivision kind of built into the landscape. There will be some right-of-way dedicated on the west side, on the Bremen side of the road for that future road expansion, and that's also where the storm retention would be. If this goes through the process and gets approval during the subdivision stage, that's when, the design of the access point, storm water, and all those other development criteria will be considered at that point and built to the city standard. Of the multifamily, about 30%, up to 30% would be attached units. So it's going to be predominantly single family. And with regards to the traffic, the primary entrance will be in Dragoon, and the staff report, and thank you for the favorable staff report, mentioned about the traffic, about 8,000 trips a day on Dragoon, and that's been very consistent over the past, and it's anticipated, don't know exactly for sure, but with this development, it would be anticipated to be very similar with the amount of volume of traffic on that road. And that's all I have at this point. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for the petitioner?
I have a question about, my understanding, that was a dumping ground at one point? And if
Yes.
that was the case, is there going to be a water test or elimination of some of the things that were brought into that site?
Those were as I understand, and it mentions in the staff report, iron tailings. So it's a byproduct of, iron process or iron manufacturing. So that would just be completely removed from the site off to another site so housing can be developed. Okay. Yep. I don't know if that totally answered your question at that point.
There was, as far as you know, there was nothing else dumped there besides slag from?
No.
From steel?
From my interactions with the client and from other knowledge from the staff, the little knowledge that was presented, no, nothing else.
Thank you.
A follow-up on that. Since that way back was a dumping ground and it was always kind of low in that, now, is that going to be filled and leveled, or what, on that property?
Well, the road design, as you see, follows basically the best contour of the landscape. So this, if you can imagine, this is going to be built to kind of fit where the landscape is. So everything like stormwater, utilities, all has to be designed around the flow of that landscape, whether it's peaks and valleys or so forth.
So all the water and everything will be contained on the property, it will not go out onto the highway?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Also, maybe I misunderstood, but when you started your presentation, you stated that you'd have 4 units connected. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
But what
And
would that be if you're having individual homes, residential homes? What are you having? Are they condos or what?
Yes, so the plan is to be owner-occupied, attached. So that's not uncommon to have either 2 attached or 4 attached. But again, primarily, it's going to be 70% primarily is going to be single-family.
Okay, so it's going to be both?
Yeah.
Single family and?
Correct.
Okay, okay. When I heard that, but I didn't hear it, and then when you said you had single family, I'm saying, how are you going to have single family if you got a 4-unit?
Don't know exactly how they'll be arranged or if that's something the developer want to pursue, but to give it that option to increase that density in certain parts of the development, that might be feasible for them to do.
And there's a couple houses back there. Are those going to stay, or are they going to be torn down, or what?
I believe one will stay for sure, and I believe one will be removed. Yep.
Just for curiosity, you know which one is going to be retained?
No.
Because the reason I'm asking is, I know a family that built that home by the name of Hudson, and him and his wife built it.
Yes, you can kind of see it's the larger lot. Kind of the misshaped larger lot. That's the one that's going to stay.
Okay, I just wondered if that was the Hudson home that was built, and that Gene Hudson and his wife built that. And the reason I know it, I taught school with him. He was a math teacher at Jackson, and I taught with him, and I was up there at the house many, many times when his kids were just little shavers and that. And he took very pride in building that house by himself and his wife, brick by brick, stone by stone. And that.
Wow.
And he built that house by reading information on how to build and how to do this and that. And it was a fabulous home. So I was just curious if it was going to stay, if it was going to be torn down.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you.
So you're, it looks like these lots border Bremen Highway right up to the highway, I take it, right?
Correct.
I mean, you're pretty confident that $450,000 and $500,000 homes are going to sell next to a busy highway?
Well, you also have a good chunk of right-of-way dedicated, maybe up to 90 feet. And then you're also going to have the benefit of the storm detention bordering that end. So you're going to have a decent amount of separation. It won't totally block everything, but you'll be far enough away that there'll be some. There is the attempt to retain some of the perimeter trees, whether that will happen or not, but there'll be some, vegetation remaining too.
And you say it's going to come off of Dragoon and not Bremen Highway?
Correct, that's the plan, yep.
So that's the only egress and Okay. Okay, well, I asked if the entrance was off of Bremen Highway or Dragoon Trail. And he
It's
said-
off Dragoon. Yep.
Okay, sorry about that, ma'am. If you can't hear anything, please raise your hand so we can make sure you hear. Thank you. Any other questions for the petitioner? Kathy, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of petition number 2403? If you would please come forward and give your name and address. Is there anyone online that wishes to speak in favor of petition number 2403? Would you please hook up? Seeing none and hearing none, is there anyone in opposition that's in the chamber that would like to speak against petition number 2403? Would you please come to the microphone, please, and state your name and address?
Hello, my name is Sandra Martin, and I live at 1723 South Union Street. I live right across the street from Family Express. My three concerns is traffic, drainage, and water pressure with this new subdivision going in. The guy spoke about traffic. This is going to increase traffic on that corner quite a bit. You have Family Express. You have people going on both sides of Dragoon, going to Myers, going to Bypass. This is going to bring a lot more traffic to this corner. I know, I live there. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Just before you, don't leave, ma'am, see if there's any questions from the commissioners. Any questions for this petitioner?
You said water pressure?
Yes.
You're worried that you're worried diminished water pressure because of?
Yes, because we live in a valley. I mean, there's hills and stuff like this, and I'm just really concerned. This is a major change for this area. I've grew up on that lot in my parents' home, and this is a huge change for the area. So I'm really concerned about water pressure, drainage, especially traffic. There's been changes with Family Express, with traffic. They come right on Union Street, going both ways. Like I said, my main concern is traffic, but the utilities as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition of petition number 2403? Would you please come to the microphone?
Angelica McGramis. I live at 16025 Chandler Boulevard, right across the street. Bremen Highway is along the side of my house, and I am very, very concerned about increasing traffic there. I used to work at Penn High School and in the Penn system. It was a challenge in the morning then, and it's a challenge now to even turn left out of Chandler Boulevard onto Bremen Highway. I can't do it. I have to go all the way down Chandler to the other end, around the well field that Mishawaka put up on our hill, and down the road, down on Dragoon Trail to turn left onto Main Street. I have to leave extra time if I'm going anywhere. It's okay if I need to turn right to go down towards Myers. My concern is when I come back from Myers and I have to turn left onto Chandler, I'm afraid I'm going to get rear-ended because of the traffic. I'm glad to hear that the entrance is going to be on Dragoon Trail. However, I know the traffic on Dragoon Trail has increased, and I know my second piece of property is along Dragoon Trail. I know I'm going to lose that property to extending the roads. It's a busy, busy intersection. I hear ambulances and fire trucks and everything every day. I'm just concerned. I think it's a good place to put the housing. I think it's a great location. I love the wildlife. I'm concerned about, will school buses be able to go through that subdivision if there are kids? Or will they have to go down to Dragoon Trail to be picked up along the road? Another problem. Like I said, it's just a very, very busy area, and I'm just saying, please do not allow an entrance or an exit off of Bremen Highway. Do you have any questions of me?
Any commissioners have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I do. Just, so you're not opposed to the subdivision, you want to clarify
Yes.
the traffic pattern of the subdivision?
Yes, yes.
And you're satisfied with the subdivision as a neighbor as long as the entrance and exit is off of Dragoon Trail?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was understanding your point.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry.
Rebecca Van Huffel at 703 Bugle Lane, Mishawaka. I oppose this because of the drainage coming off of Blair Hills going onto Bugle Lane. They have built a sewer underneath, but at the end of Bugle, we get, when there's a hard rain, rocks as big as my fist along the road, let alone coming off further to the west if they have 51 lots up there. Also, with the coming off of Dragoon, the entrance and exit, there's a natural curve there right after the church that it would be hard to see somebody coming out going east or west, plus the extra traffic. In the morning, at 7, I don't even have to look at my clock. I can tell between 6:30 and 7:30 all of the traffic that's going east and west on Dragoon. So if there's a few houses like there is up there now, that would be great, but 51 lots, that's an awful lot more people.
Any questions for the commissioners? Thank you. In the rebuttal, we'll answer some of those questions that you had about the drainage and that.
Yes, okay.
Okay? Thank you. Is there anyone else present in the chamber that would like to speak in opposition?
Hi, my name is Jenny Schumacher, 16030 Chandler Boulevard, and I live directly across from this dump. It's been a dump for years, so I'm concerned on a couple of areas. Just the quality of that property with it being a dump for so many years. I know that they've recently gone in and started cleaning some of it up, but I don't know how contaminated it is at this point. But it's the traffic issue that is really critical. Because I live exactly across from it, I hear cars screeching all the time. Because what happens is, if you go on 331 and you're coming from Myers, you will realize that there's a hill there. But people don't realize that until they're almost to my property, and then they suddenly see the stoplight. So most of them are going way too fast to start with, so consequently, there's accidents there on that corner all the time. So I realize that they're saying they're gonna put the drive-in on Dragoon, but on the drawing, Princess Drive is just right across from me that is the entrance right now. So you've got the Hudson, I think that's a Hudson, what was the name? Anyway, that is still on the plan. So what are they gonna do for that house? Is that house still gonna come access from Princess Drive? And if so, will that be a secondary drive going into the property? So that creates another issue with the traffic. And so at this point, I'm opposing everything until I really understand exactly what they're going to do with this property as far as what kind of houses they plan on putting. I'm not really crazy about a bunch of condos. I'd rather see just a few houses. That would help keep the traffic down. But I am really concerned. Since the Family Dollar went in, or Family Express, whatever it is, I was sitting in my workroom one day, and I had a police officer draw her gun and run in front of my window, scared the crap out of me. So the more that, we have traffic there and development, I don't know if that's going to increase any more of the, criminal aspect. I mean, it's just so brand new that I'd like to know more before any decision is made so that I have a better understanding of the property as a whole.
Well, there's a lot more to be defined on this before it develops, okay?
And I knew this was preliminary, so I
Yeah.
thought I'd come and kind of get a start on where everything is going.
Well, you're more than welcome to come to any meeting to find out the facts and if you're on your concerns and everything like that. So don't ever be bashful to come and ask questions, and we appreciate that.
Oh, I'm not bashful.
Okay. Okay. And like you say, we're going to have a rebuttal. The presenter of the petition will be answering some of the questions that you posed in that, and another one from the other lady. So maybe that'll clear up some of your questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else in the chamber that wishes to speak in opposition to petition 2403?
My name's Paul Schumacher. I live at 16030. That's my mom that was just up here, and I'm not necessarily opposed. I would not like to see the woods go necessarily, but my question was, does anybody know, that's the only section of road between the bypass and the toll road that isn't 4 lanes. Eventually, it's got to become 4 lanes. Which side of the road are they planning on taking the lanes to extend it? I'm curious because that's kind of a dump right now. That'd be nice if they take it on that side instead of our side. And I also have a shop at the end of Victory Street, which is where they're proposing on putting the entrance exit for the subdivision, which I'm just letting them know now or whoever that it's almost impossible once the stuff grows up to see anything if you're leaving Victory to the left, which would be the east, because the foliage grows up there and you cannot see if there's a car coming around that corner, and they are going so damn fast, and it's a rough turn to come out to go right across that little bridge there off of Victory, that we get bitched at all the time when we pull up to the stop sign or light, and people are, you pulled out in front of me, and it's like, if you weren't doing 45, you wouldn't have had to, but you just cannot see people coming out there. They're going to be right across from that. It's just going to be something that the city's going to have to address and clean up or free up that view or something, because there are going to be accidents there all the time.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Please, come up.
My name is Jim Nasons. I live at 707 Steeplechase Drive in the Blair Hills development. Our development has been around since '74, and it's single-family homes. I think we have 291 single-family homes, then we have we have villas and townhouses, no condos. I have a little issue with that. I'm not completely opposed to it, but I think where it's exiting, where the drive is onto Dragoon, that is a kind of a blind corner there coming around, so they're gonna have to really open that up a little bit. Also, 70% are gonna be single-family homes, which is roughly 35 single-family homes, and the other 15 lots, are they gonna be villas, townhouses, or is he going to put a big condo building in those lots? And that makes a difference as to how many residents will be in that area. And I think the more residents you have in that area, traffic on Dragoon is really getting heavier and heavier. I understand, talking to some people, that they're actually talking about expanding making Dragoon a little bit wider, like for a turn lane and such, because the traffic is so dense right there. So my concern would be, I'm not completely against it, but I'd like to have those questions to what the other 15 lots are going to be, more than anything else.
Well, like I say, we're going to have a rebuttal and those questions.
And I
will be answered.
appreciate that, but I just wanted to...
Yeah, well, we appreciate your comments.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
No questions, I hope?
No. We'll get you some answers, though. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak in opposition to petition 2403? Please come forward.
Hi, Scott Weaver, 756 East 8th Street. I live in a nearby neighborhood, but one of my concerns is I frequently take Bremen Highway as a commute to work back and forth. And at the Dragoon and Bremen Highway intersection, as it is right now, it's very congested come the rush hours, morning and afternoon. But the problem I foresee is if there was to be a Bremen Highway access, anybody heading northbound is going to get backed up by one person trying to turn left at rush hour. Because as it is a 2-lane road, the only way traffic's going to keep flowing is if people drive around off the shoulder of the road. So I'm just saying if there is going to be a Bremen Highway access, there's going to have to be some changes made to that section of road to accommodate the traffic, at least to keep it flowing. And as regards to the Dragoon Trail entrance, to me, that seems the most feasible one, but I do agree with people that spoke before me regarding safety and regarding like school buses and children in that area, because I drive through that area quite a bit also, and I do see a lot of kids at play, often not far from the side of the road. And yeah, that whole curve thing does make for a pretty insidious blind spot, especially if people are speeding. So I just wanted to address basically the Bremen Highway access issue, because I know if I'm heading north during rush hour, it's going to get backed up by one person trying to turn left. Oh, that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir, but I don't think there's any plan to have an access off the Bremen Highway. Right now, there's only one house that comes out of a Princess Drive up there to turn either right or left. The development, none of it's coming off of Bremen Highway. Or
I was just under the impression that like a Bremen Highway access would be an option.
yeah, well, to my knowledge, it's not, but we have a rebuttal and they'll answer that question.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you, sir. Again, is there anyone else that wishes to speak in opposition to petition 2403? If you would please come forward. Seeing none, is there anybody online that would like to speak in opposition to petition 2403? If you would please hook up.
Can you hear me? This is Sienna Scheibel-Hutt.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I live at 58700 Bremen Highway, right next door to the proposed development. And we will be turning left from Bremen Highway into our driveway every day. I don't know, how long is Princess Drive going to be there?
That I don't know, ma'am.
One of my questions. And then, and I also wonder about how wide Victory Lane will be. Are they going to make Victory Lane go all the way back along the back toward the creek? And how much of a buffer of woods are they going to put between our house and this resident, all these residences? We're going to lose our privacy, and we'll also lose, you know, we're concerned about all the animals in the trees that will be killed. We're concerned about the debris. There's a lot of debris in there, and I'm concerned about the vibration. You know, we feel the vibrations, and when they start digging all that out, and it's big chunks, that is going to move our house. I mean, I'm afraid it's going to move our house. I also wonder how that's going to affect our property taxes. I mean, if that's the city, how does that affect the county taxes? Will we still be in, I'm sure we'll still be in the county. And there are, you know, we do have the pileated woodpecker, the bluebirds, and the fox, and dozens of deer that live in that area. And so, and the traffic is the biggest concern. And I have been hit from behind, trying to turn right from Bremen Highway onto Dragoon. And I still have chronic back pain from it from 20 years ago. So it happens frequently. And that's That's all my concerns. And I'm concerned about people coming from that subdivision into our woods and taking our morels and things like that.
Well, I don't think there's anything we can do about that. You know, that's kind of open, that's free gratis to anybody that lives there or wants to come up there. So I
In my
appreciate your
woods, I'm
concern. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your comments. And some of this will be cleared up in rebuttal. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Again, is there anyone else online that would like to speak in opposition of petition 2403? If you would please hook up. Okay, seeing none, would like to have the petitioner come up and talk about the rebuttal of some of the questions that were asked and concerns. And
Absolutely.
I saw you were listing them, so if
Yep,
you could please
writing
take
some
one by
notes.
one and address them, I would
Sure.
appreciate that.
And if people can't hear me at any point, please say something.
Okay.
I'll try to address some of the smaller issues first. There were a lot of common themes here. First, generally, I know someone mentioned about taxes, but generally with new construction and new development, that's going to trend assessed values higher. So increased values in a neighborhood is going to be a positive thing, more sustainable neighborhood there.
But she's not in the city.
Still, just the neighborhood
Yeah,
in
but I'm
general.
just saying, you know, the city taxes versus the county, you know.
I'm not talking taxes, I was just talking general valuation of the
okay,
homes is going to be
okay.
higher, so it should help
Okay, well, I'm just
increase
saying.
value in the.
What she addressed on that. So thank you.
On a minor point, there was construction practices. You know, there's stormwater construction practices. Certain things are bonded during construction, so they would follow whatever city standards there are for construction practices of a subdivision. Let's see, there's a couple. A smaller one point was on the water pressure. I know during the staff report, there was a comment by the water department that water pressure will have to be addressed for this subdivision, and that's a known thing to review and develop too when, if this gets to the subdivision process. So that would just have to be something that would have to be either studied or planned for or engineered or so forth. So it would meet whatever city standard for water-related needs. Stormwater on a number of points was brought up. Again, there is when this gets designed for construction documents and how the water flows, it is planned for all the stormwater to stay on site. So if there's some issues with some road drainage on some other parts in the nearby area, this would just take care of whatever's being developed and whatever roads front there. So I have no issues that the stormwater would be accommodated during the time when the stormwater would get reviewed. Okay, a lot of the other questions related to the traffic and related to the interior roads. Again, during subdivision review, the fire department reviews the radiuses of the road to make sure fire trucks can make the turns and so forth. So there will be a specific review for that at that point. The existing house would access the interior subdivision road, because obviously, as you could see, that current drive right now is going to be developed over. To speak about Bremen, it's not planned to have an intersection there because that would be a major construction entry point. And plus that there's a lot right there that's planned. So there would be no planned access on that road. And keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be about 90 feet of dedicated right-of-way on only this side. So, and that is the plan for the future growth of that expansion of that roadway. And engineering did give this a preliminary design, and that's where that comment came from. So planning the corridor and the dedication of right-of-way is very much going to be part of the plan. So with Dragoon, that entry point, when it gets to engineering, will be studied and probably likely line up with Victory. So that intersection is going to be a safe intersection because at this point, kind of comes in at a funky angle. Same thing during that review. They want to view it for line of sight distance to make sure that's a very good entry point onto Dragoon. And keep in mind, as mentioned in the staff report, but I think you all know this, that road is very much a collector. And it's more of a regional road. It does serve local neighborhoods, but it connects the south end of the city. So you're going to get regional traffic and local traffic. So of the 8,000 trips, a subdivision like this can add a couple hundred per day. That's what, about 2 or 3% increase. So there probably would be a small increase, but in the totality of that volume, it's a very, very small increase. I think I addressed all the points, which some of them were somewhat redundant, but I think Yep. When I made that comment about the interior road with the fire trucks, that related to school buses too. So any large vehicle has to make that turning movement. So when the fire chief looks at it, it's for any large vehicle that would go down that road. Do you have any questions?
Okay, I have one. Like say on Bremen Highway, your development's not coming off of Bremen Highway, it's coming off of Dragoon, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now, there is one little road that goes up, I think it's called Princess Drive. It comes off of Bremen Highway, kind of adjacent to your property and that. And there's one house up there. Is that drive going to be connected to any time of your development?
Again, I mentioned that if you look at lot 14 on that drawing, if you go to the concept plan, that would go through right where a planned home would be. So I would simply say that answer would be no, that access wouldn't exist. And plus, an entrance of a public road onto Bremen that's apparently going to be expanded at some point would be a very expensive proposition. So it just makes sense to have the one entry point onto.
Okay, so you're
Dragoon.
saying Princess Drive will no longer be a drive up? Is that what you're saying?
I don't even, is it a publicly dedicated road?
Well, it goes up off of Bremen Highway up to that couple houses up there.
Yep. It looks like a private drive. It looks like a private drive to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like I say, it's not going to connect to your development?
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. So that would still come off of Bremen Highway then? That Princess Drive, even though it's a private road?
Not on this side of the development. Maybe on the west side if there's a different drive that lines up with this, but not on this side of the drive.
Okay, so your development does not affect that Princess Drive? It comes off of Bremen Highway?
Princess Drive isn't going to go anywhere anymore.
Pardon?
It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going anywhere
Well,
anymore.
what are they going to do with that house that lives up there?
It'll
It's
access
right there, it's right
interior
in the
into
middle.
the subdivision.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
you're going to bring it into the subdivision?
Yes.
All right.
Because if you see if it lines up, if you see that house lines up really nice with which would be a future driveway on the interior road.
Okay.
What lot is it, 40? I don't think he knows what lot it is.
It looks like
No,
40.
it's not really numbered.
Yeah, it's
Well,
the,
there's a number like 41 or 42.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that house will get off of Dragoon like everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You had a question from one of the folks who were just asking about the makeup. It seems from this map that we're seeing, it's predominantly single-family home sites.
Yes.
A few townhomes. What do you, just talk to the makeup of it?
So I can't speak necessarily to the architectural style or anything like that. If you can imagine
numbers.
what a single-family $500,000 home looks like, it's going to be pretty large in nature. The proportion, if you have 51 lots, what the planning staff said is about if you maximize everything, it could be up to 70. That means 30% of that could be an attached dwelling, like on a 0 lot line, you have an attached dwelling, or you could have 4 units put together on a lot. Now, granted, they're owned, but you might have a couple lots like that mixed into, or maybe at the entrance or something like that as part of the overall development, and then the remainder would be single family. If that gives you a better idea.
So nothing for rent.
Not planned, no.
In the site plan, it almost looks like there's a turn lane or a decel lane. Is that what that's depicting, or is there anything planned to enter the neighborhood?
Well, when that entrance is designed and how Victory comes into that and the line of sight and whether a decel or a cell lane or just a taper is needed, whatever is warranted by the traffic on the road and the size of the subdivision will dictate that.
Thank you.
Construction, yep.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, we'll close the public meeting. And is there any commissioners that wish to speak?
I'd just like to offer a comment. I think that all the folks who came before us tonight and mentioned the traffic concerns, they're heard on a lot of different levels tonight, and you have a great room of people in the city of Mishawaka, and you have us as your fellow citizens and volunteers who hear it. So we're aware of it in doing it, and I think those comments are relevant, and you have a lot of city folks here who, the 100 trips a day. We talked a lot about land use tonight and other projects, but when you really think about the value, this is going to be some of the more expensive real estate in Mishawaka as a whole. It will have a positive effect if you look at it around there. I mean, the folks who are looking at this and the developers are going to have to consider, the demands of the folks who are going to come in and buy this, and I think that you're going to see some positive effect from just the sheer numbers of the home values there at $500,000 home sites are really, you're hitting positive. So that's just my comment, and your traffic concerns are heard in all of this. So, city, municipal water and sewer is on our proposal.
Anybody else, any commissioners? I just want to interject, and Mr. Prince, if I'm not correct, if you please correct me, that there are plans to widen Bremen Highway, basically. Please. Now, I don't know how far down the road, but
So I'm getting a little, kind of the cart in front of the horse here,
Yeah.
because this hasn't been worked out. So
Yeah.
just very preliminary, because we're talking about a project that's adjacent to it. But Bremen Highway, we're currently in discussions with St. Joseph County. So the majority of the section going up the hill from Dragoon is currently in unincorporated St. Joseph County. And the part that's 2 lanes kind of going into the city is all ours. So we're trying to reach an agreement. And when you look at the preliminary, we've had engineers look at that section. It's been our long-term goal to make it at least 5 lanes going from one end of the city to the other end of the city. But we're talking about tens of millions of dollars. We're talking about a minimum of 2 phases. We're talking about acquiring property. Anyway, so my understanding from the city engineer is the bottleneck is actually on the south side of Dragoon. So that will likely be the phase that's done first, and then there'll be the bottleneck that runs kind of between 7th Street as you head toward Dragoon. But once you address the intersection, my understanding that'll fix the bottleneck and move more traffic and prevent the backups that have been occurring. So that is in process, but even because we haven't started the engineering, we're just in the very preliminary stages yet. We're probably talking 2027, 2028 would be the soonest you'd see a road actually built or widened through there. And that's assuming we were able to come up with the tens of millions of dollars of funding to do the widening. I can tell you from the mayor's perspective, it's been a priority, and he keeps hounding us. We just can't print money in the back room. So that's the issue.
Yeah, I'm just clarifying that, there's been rumors of that about the widening of basically Bremen
So-
Highway.
Right, so
all the way up.
it's a challenging section because,
Yeah.
this is not a greenfield area. In the city, you're talking about acquiring potentially people's houses, and when you're going up the hill, you're talking about grades that are significant. We're used to kind of flat land development in Indiana, but you hit that area of Dragoon, you're going up the hill. You have to chase that grade, so widening the road isn't an easy proposition.
Right.
It's got to be delicately engineered, so.
I know nothing's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
But there are plans to somewhere down the road, too.
Definitively, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prince.
I'll entertain it, but the questions really have to come from the commission. The state turned back that road, I want to say 15 or more years ago. It is no longer a state road, and the state has nothing to do with that road anymore. Sure.
Okay. I obtain a motion for petition number 2403.
I have one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the date, the year for this development?
Because of all the plans that have to be created, it would be next year. Yep, start next year.
I'm sorry, is there any other questions for the commissioners? Okay, I will entertain a motion for petition number 2403.
I'd like to make a motion to accept petition 2403.
Second.
We've had a motion and second. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Would you please poll the commissioners?
Drew Cash,
Yes.
Woody Emmons,
Yes.
Sam Cressy,
Yes.
Drew Johnson,
Yes.
Randy Frost,
Yes.
Kathy White Gaddich,
Yes.
Mike Portalese,
Yes.
Passes 7-0, and it will go back to the council. Thank you. Petition number 2404, a petition submitted by Gumwood Acquisition requesting a planned unit development amendment for lots 1 and 2 of the enclave of Grandview Minor Subdivision located at the northwest corner of Gumwood Road and West Cleveland Road, actually State 23.
Good evening, Mr. Emmons, members of the commission. My name is Rich Deal. I'm general counsel at Great Lakes Capital with offices at 7410 Aspect Drive here in Mishawaka. I'm pleased to join Audra Saradsky, partner of Great Lakes and our lead developer on Grandview Phase 3, as well as join our primary professional consultant on engineering, Daryl Knipp, from president of Abbenmarsh. We plan to make just a real brief presentation tonight. I think you'll see that there are 3 items on your agenda out of the 8. So we have about 38% of the business before you, and we'll try to use a little less than 38% of your time through the evening.
That would be much appreciated.
So the first 2 items that are before you are back to back, starting with this petition for a PUD amendment. We've handed out a kind of a brief packet. The first page is just a kind of project site overview. It's one that the commission is familiar with. I think, as you may recall, you considered and kindly supported the project and made a favorable recommendation for advancing this on January 9th to the council with different amendments and different aspects for our what we call Block 200, which is the center stage kind of visionary focal point of the project. Since then, we've had approval through the council, and we're coming back on these next 2 items are administrative items just to help facilitate what we're trying to do. But for quick background, as the commission knows, our Block 2 or our Phase 3 project includes 66 townhomes immediately to the west And then our Block 200 project, right in the middle there, includes mixed-use multifamily with a structured parking garage, as well as a hotel property with 125 rooms. So and actually, you mind if we flip to the next page? Both of the PUD amendment and the subdivision plat, which is the next petition that you'll hear this evening, both of these items really relate to our need to further subdivide the property to facilitate our financing. So what we're doing here on a subdivision plat is taking Block 200 and we're creating 2 lots. One lot is going to have all the multifamily and retail, and then the next lot immediately adjacent is the hotel property. Both of those building structures are connected, so there's like a 0 lot line, which leads to our request back before the petition 2404 is one of our amendments to have a 0 building setback on interior lots within the development, as well as to facilitate our shared parking between the Block 200, as well as the future area that would be developed is our request for the kind of the zero foot setback for certain parking next to interior lot lines. So greatly appreciate your consideration for a favorable recommendation to the council on the first petition before you, and then we can reappear for the second one in a moment after, or I'll take your direction, Mr. Emmons, on.
We'll take one at a time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the petitioner? On petition 2404? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of petition number 2404? If you would please come forward. Seeing none, is there anyone online that would like to speak in favor of petition 2404? If you would please hook up. In the chamber, is anyone in opposition of petition number 2404? If you would please come forward and give your name and address. Seeing none, is there anyone online that would like to speak in opposition of 2404? If you would please hook up. Seeing none, I'll take a motion on petition number 2404.
I make a motion that we forward petition 2404 for a favorable recommendation to the council.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Will you please poll the commissioners?
Drew Cash.
Yes.
Woody Emmons.
Yes.
Sam Cressy.
Yes.
Drew Johnson.
Yes.
Randy Frost.
Yes.
Kathy White Gaddage.
Yes.
Mike Portalese.
Yes.
Thank you. Petition number 2404 passes 7-0 and will go to the council. Thank you. Moving on, a request submitted by Gumwood Acquisitions LLC seeking approval of a 3-lot enclave at Grandview Minor Subdivision, Lot Number 2. Is there anyone in the chamber that wishes to speak on this replat?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Emmons, members of the council. My name is Rich Deal, General Counsel of Great Lakes Capital, Gumwood Acquisitions. We're here before you to seek your support and approval tonight for of the subdivision plat. What we're trying to do is right now, the undeveloped land at the northwest corner of Cleveland and Gumwood is currently 2 lots. What we're seeking to do is, 1 lot is the enclave. What we're seeking to do is take the balance of the property and subdivide that into 3 lots. 1 for the multifamily part of Block 200, 1 for the hotel part of Block 200, and then what would be Lot C, which would be the balance of the undeveloped land, which would become a Phase 4 in the future. So happy to answer any questions and appreciate your support.
Any questions from the commissioners?
The purpose is to do this for financing?
Yeah, the purpose is primarily, to separate within Block 200, both to create 2 lots there, primarily for financing and kind of flexibility for investment as well as financing for both of those.
Any other questions from the commissioner? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in this chamber that would like to speak in favor of replat number 2401? If you would please come forward. Is there anyone online that would like to speak in favor of replat number 2401? If you would please come. Look up. Seeing none and hearing none, is there anyone present in the chamber that would like to speak in opposition of replat 2401? If you would please come forward. Seeing none, is there anyone online that would like to place opposition to 2401? If you would please hook up. Seeing none and hearing none. We'll close the public hearing on replat number 2401. I'll take a motion.
A motion to approve replat 2401.
I'd second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've had a vote and a second. Ms. Burkhart, will you poll the commissioner?
Drew Cash.
Yes.
Woody Emmons.
Yes.
Sam Cressy.
Yes.
Drew Johnson.
Yes.
Randy Frost.
Yes.
Kathy White Gaddich.
Yes.
Mike Portalese.
Yes.
It passed 7-2. Moving on. To site plan number 2402, a request submitted by, did we hit this one? No, we're right. Of site plan, a request submitted by Helen Segerman, Estate and First Source Bank, Continental Property, seeking the final site plan approval of the Spring and Mishawaka for 280-unit apartment complexes to be located at the northwest east corner of Fur Road and Beacon Parkway. Is there anyone in the chambers speak in favor? If you would please come forward.
My name is Jordan Tyken. I'm with Continental Properties, address West 134 North 8675 Executive Parkway, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. Thank you all, commissioners, for having us here this evening. I recognize some faces and see some new ones. In the essence of time, we do not have a presentation, but certainly welcome any comments or feedback. As a refresher, we're proposing a 280-unit multifamily community at the corner of Fur Road and Beacon Parkway. We previously presented in front of the Planning Commission and received recommendation of approval, moved on to Common Council for the annexation of the northern property into the city of Mishawaka, along with a rezone to S2, and received a approval from council in November of last year. We're seeking final site plan approval this evening, and just before this, we appeared at the Board of Zoning Appeals for a variance request regarding the detached garages you see along the northern property line. That was unanimously approved. So again, appreciate your time, and I'm also joined here this evening by our civil engineer, Whitney Pizzala with AR Engineering, for any technical questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions, Petitioner?
Are there any significant changes from what we previously saw?
No, no, there are not. Not to the architecture, not to the site plan. I would say the only significant change, I believe when we had previously appeared, we were intending to connect to the existing detention pond on the adjacent property. Since that time, we found that we can create our own detention pond and not connect to that adjacent detention pond, but that's the only change.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber that wishes to speak in favor of Site Plan 2402?
Woody, I don't think there's a public hearing on.
Pardon?
It's a site plan, so.
Yeah.
There's no hearing.
Yeah, there's no public hearing. Okay. Thank you for this comment. Yeah, thank you. Do we have a motion on site plan number 24-2?
A motion for approval of site plan 23, 2.
24.
2242, excuse me. Stand corrected.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Burkhart, will you poll the commissioners?
Drew Cash,
Yes.
Woody Emmons,
Yes.
Sam Cressy,
Yes.
Drew Johnson,
Yes.
Randy Frost,
Yes.
Kathy White Gaddage,
Yes.
Mike Portalese,
Yes.
Site plan number 24-2 passes 7-0. Moving on to site plan 2403, a request submitted by Gumwood Acquisitions LLC seeking final site plan approval for Grandview Block 200 for mixed use to include multifamily residential, hotel, and retail located at the northwest corner of Gumwood Road and West 23.
Good evening, Mr. Emmons, members of the commission. Rich Deal, General Counsel at Great Lakes Capital, with offices at 7410 Aspect Drive here in Mishawaka. I'm pleased to join Audra Saratsky, our partner and lead developer, as well as Daryl Knipp from Abinmarsh, who's been instrumental in development of the site plan. I think that you've reviewed. We're happy to answer questions. I think that we have received kind of comments and support back from planning, engineering, building, fire, and utilities, and are pleased to continue to work with staff, through a couple of the administrative questions and confirmations, but greatly appreciate your support and happy to answer any questions that you may have this evening. I think out of the comments, there were two that I think are worth noting. One was an engineering comment, a proposal for connectivity of sidewalks, along the perimeter of roadway of Cleveland and Gumwood. We realize that that's the kind of regional intent is for connectivity for the future of walking pedestrian paths, and we're committed and have been through phases 1 and 2 and now 3 to facilitate connectivity, and I look forward to continuing to work with staff in the city in a smart way to allow pedestrians kind of through the development as part of the overall planning and staff final sign off of the site plan as well. So happy to answer any questions, and I know Daryl is happy to as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the petitioner? Okay, do I have a motion on site plan number 24-3?
Make a motion that we make a positive recommendation for site plan 23-03.
Second.
Ms. Burkhart, will you poll the commissioners?
Drew Cash,
Yes.
Woody Emmons,
Yes.
Sam Cressy,
Yes.
Drew Johnson,
Yes.
Randy Frost,
Yes.
Kathy White Gaddich,
Yes.
Mike Portalese,
Yes.
Site plan number 24-3 passes 7-0. So we'll move on to site plan number 24-4, a request submitted by the Good Oil Company and Take 5 Indiana LLC seeking final site plan approval for Take 5 Oil and for a 1,760 square foot building for quick service oil change business located at 411 West McKinley Avenue. Am I not seeing somebody?
Supposed to be online.
Okay, online, okay, thank you.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Ashton Fritz. I'm with Fritz Engineering, office at 14020 Mississinawa Drive in Carmel, Indiana, 46033. And yeah, before you tonight is a proposed Take 5 oil change facility. This is at the southwest corner of West McKinley and Liberty Drive on approximately 0.85 acres. The current site has a bank building on it that will be removed. And just to give you a little background on Take 5, it's a national oil change brand with approximately 800 locations throughout the U.S. They provide oil changes, air filter replacements, wiper blade replacements, and other minor automotive services. No major mechanical repairs, tire rotations, sales, or other services offered. The facility does not have a waiting area or customer lounge. The customers enter the facility, remain in their vehicles throughout their service, and the typical service time is about 8 to 9 minutes from the time they enter until the time they drive away. This building has 3 service bays and can accommodate 1 vehicle in each bay, as well as additional stacking spaces outside. Access to the site will be from the 2 existing drives on Russ Avenue along the south side. The existing drive to the bank building on the north side of the site off of McKinley Ave will be removed. The applicant has reviewed the staff report and the included recommended conditions of approval and are accepting of those conditions. I'm glad to answer any questions the commission may have.
Just for clarification, sir, there will be no entrance or exit off of McKinley, is that true?
That is correct.
So the only entrance and exit will be off of Russ Street, is that correct?
That is correct. Yep, there are 2 existing drives off of Russ that will remain, and the McKinley Ave existing drive will be removed.
Okay, so will your facility face west or will it face east?
The front face will be to the north.
Okay,
So vehicles on that site plan, if you can see it there, are entering from the south, exiting the service bays to the north, then wrap around the west side of the building to exit the facility and the property.
on Russ Street, okay,
Back to Russ Street, yep.
okay, thank you. Is there any other questions from the commissioners?
What's the, you have to demo the bank building. What is the start and finish from demo to construction?
From demo to the start of construction or completion?
Completion.
I don't have that in front of me, but typically it's about 4 or 5 months.
Of this year then, or?
Yeah, the goal would definitely be to have it open and operating by in 2024.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Then I'll invite a motion for site plan number 2404.
Make a motion to approve site plan 2404.
Have a second?
Second.
Ms. Burkhart, will you poll the commissioners?
Drew Cash,
Yes.
Woody Emmons,
Yes.
Sam Cressy,
Yes.
Drew Johnson,
Yes.
Randy Frost,
Yes.
Kathy White Gaddis.
Yes.
Mike Portalese.
Yes.
Is there any old business to come to the,
None.
to the floor for the commissioners?
looks like there's new business.
Mr. Prince?
Yes, new business. Just to, Woody, you know this, but we organized a date with the Common Council to hold a joint meeting between the Planning Commission and the Common Council regarding an update of our comprehensive plan. That date will be May 13th at 6 PM. So if you can just do a save the date, we'll get you more information as we get closer. But we just wanted you to pencil that in.
What was the time, 7?
6 PM. And I also want to thank everyone for your work tonight. The questions were great, and Woody, you ran a great meeting, so
Thank you.
kudos.
I'm going to have a talk with Chris Doherty. And his meetings are short, and first time I have to do one, it's 3 hours.
Yeah, I think we need a raise.
Any new business, please, for the commissioners?
We're offline, aren't we? Okay.
Anybody privileged to the floor? I don't see anybody here. So I would have a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. 10:05.